Starmer. West Streeting fancies the swing, but his left-wing opponents have claimed he'd be lucky to outlast a lettuce. Plus, we'll show exactly why Andy Burnham's rocky routes to power would launch a bloody, all-out war from both Reform and the Greens to lock the Manchester mayor out of the race. And also today, GBNews is in the Prime Minister's constituency to find out exactly there what people think of this ongoing political farce.
Well, more and more ministers and MPs are having their say, but here in Sir Keir Starmer's constituency, we are hearing from those who voted for him and those who now say they want him to go.
Throughout today's show, we bring you all the very latest news on the Prime Minister's almighty fight to save his embattled premiership. Can Sir Keir Starmer survive? That's all coming up on today's show. A Prime Minister on death row, facing the fight for his very political survival as ministers drop like flies, with more resignations expected surely throughout the rest of this unmissable afternoon here in Westminster. The Prime Minister continues his almighty fight to save his premiership as the number of ministers who have resigned from government has now risen to 3 amid the ongoing row over his leadership. Alex Davis-Jones, Jess Phillips and Miata Funbele all announced that their roles as Sir Keir Starmer tries to quell a mounting Labour backlash after his party's drubbing in last week's local elections. Let's now speak with GBNews' Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, live there on Downing Street, and it's fast turning into a nightmare on Downing Street for Sir Keir Starmer, Tom.
It certainly is, Martin. And I've got to say that over the course of the last 24 hours, this has been the time when everything has really gathered pace. It was during your show yesterday, Martin, that we started to see the occasional Member of Parliament say that the Prime Minister should go, turn into a steadier drumbeat. And by the end of your programme, it did really feel like there was something afoot in Westminster. That, of course, continued into the evening, and we saw resignations from the government payroll vote, those 6 parliamentary private secretaries declaring they had no confidence in the Prime Minister. Now today, as you've been saying, 3 ministers of this government resigning their roles, some with the most scathing things to say about the Prime Minister. And this does feel like it is the beginning rather than the end of what is afoot in Westminster today. Behind me, we've seen senior figures in the Prime Minister's team head into Downing Street in order to no doubt conduct crisis meetings and help coordinate the Prime Minister's rearguard action. His response to what feels like an unstoppable force, that feels like that the sands in Westminster have been shifting. And in the words of Boris Johnson, as he stood outside the building behind me in July 2022, saying these words: "When the herd moves, it moves." It feels like the Labour herd has moved. It's getting on for 100 Labour MPs who have said they have no confidence in the Prime Minister. It's hard to see how he'll see out this term in Parliament, even if he does manage to survive the coming few days. But will he be able to survive those coming few days? All eyes are on what the Cabinet might do. Reportedly, Wes Streeting tried to speak to the Prime Minister face-to-face after the Cabinet meeting today. In the Cabinet meeting, the Prime Minister said, "We're not talking about leadership here, we can do that one-on-one." And then Wes Streeting tried to do that one-on-one and was rebuffed, and the Prime Minister refused to hear from him. That's according to reports from another broadcaster. Now, if that is indeed the case, the Prime Minister has gone into bunker mode, refusing to listen to criticism and only talking to those who are going to shore up his position. That is not a healthy place for the Prime Minister to be in, and clearly things may well go south fairly quickly.
Thank you very, very much indeed, Tom Hall. We'll be back to you, of course, throughout the rest of the show as the breaking news undoubtedly continues to come in. Back to the studio now for some analysis. I'm delighted to be joined by GBNews' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and the Conservative Shadow Policing Minister Matt Vickers. Gentlemen, welcome, Matt. Let's start with you. Admit it. You're probably really enjoying this meltdown on you. It seems now Sir Keir Starmer is clinging on to power by his fingernails.
I mean, it's a disaster. But this isn't a today job, is it? This has been going on now for months. Ultimately, it's got a lot hotter in the last 48 hours, but for months now we've had a Prime Minister whose entire priority has been whether he can survive another day, another week, another month in Downing Street, and then a gang of people around him in the Cabinet who are looking at whether they can get in to Downing Street. The end result is they're not concentrating on the priorities of people out there. His one priority is his survival. He should be worrying about what people at home are worrying about, the cost of living, about the fact that unemployment is rising, about the fact that graduates who are leaving university can't get a job, about the fact that we have some of the highest energy prices in the country. Instead, all eyes are on what's going on and who's got the keys to number 10. That is not good for this country. It's not good for the Labour Party. It's not good for anybody, actually.
Do you think there's a bitter irony in the fact that in opposition, the leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer, was continually polishing his halo about anyone from the Conservative Party should resign over any and every minor indiscretion? Well, yet, when now he's Prime Minister, he's clinging on to power like a dog onto a postman's leg.
Well, the problem is he was whiter than white. He knew better. He was, of such high moral standard. There's some killer script out there. There's a bit of video footage of him at the dispatch box talking about the fact, will it be his ministers and his MPs who get rid of him? Will it be the public? Will he give them the opportunity? Or will he just resign and do the right thing? I think he's probably reached that point now, looking at the damage that's been done to the country, the damage that's been done internationally. For people who are looking at an ambassador, he pointed, the highest, most prestigious diplomatic post this country has to offer, given to a man who'd been sacked from government twice, who was linked to one of the most vile paedophiles ever to walk the earth. His judgment's been undermined. The things he's inflicted on the country, totally damaging. But the one thing that is interesting is you've got all these Labour MPs coming out now saying it's the right thing to do for him to go. It's terrible. He's lost the confidence of the country. Where were they when he was removing the winter fuel allowance from those pensioners? Where were they when they had to walk through those lobbies and vote against the grooming gangs inquiry? Where were they when we saw all the debate around the Northern Ireland Veterans Bill and protecting those brave people who put their lives on the line for this country? They didn't really care about holding the Prime Minister to a standard now. But now their jobs are on the line. Now they've seen election results that could cost them their role in Parliament next time. All of a sudden, they've grown some backbone and some spine and they're willing to stand up to this man. It's tragic. It's really tragic.
But when reality bites, Matt Vickers, every Labour MP on this list that I've looked at today, and I'm running this through some software to get this confirmed, there are about 12 MPs on this list that could hold their seat if there's a general election tomorrow. The vast majority of these MPs are dead men and dead women walking. They know it. They know if Keir Starmer is their boss, they are toast. A lot of these people, about half of them, Matt, are first-termers, the first ever time as an MP. 2 years ago, they were the cock of the hoop. They were local legends. Now they're getting doors slammed in their face in just 2 years. That's a rude awakening. You can't blame them, can you, for abandoning the Prime Minister?
If you arrive in Parliament and the minute you arrive there, you do things that are completely against the perspective that you claim to stand for, the idea that you're going to stand up for the vulnerable, you're going to stand up for the pensions, you're going to stand up for the veterans, you're going to stand up for all these groups of people, and actually at every single opportunity you fail to stand up to a Prime Minister who is doing untold harm. The reality is that this government has had real consequences for people out there. We've got businesses going at the wall at the fastest rate since the world economic crash. 18% more people unemployed. Graduate recruitment rate all-time low. That isn't a surprise. It doesn't happen by magic. It's happened because of increases in taxes, in business rates. It's happened because of the NI increase. It's happened because of the Employment Rights Bill. The only people who are better off are the unions and those people who don't work. People who work hard and do the right thing are so much worse off. And it's not paying for public services. There's less police on the streets. Prisoners are getting released early. That money's all been spent on welfare. It's all been spent giving the unions what they want from all sorts of negotiations. It is a disaster for this country. This thing has to end.
OK, I'm going to ask you for a prediction. Mystic Matt, how long has he got?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure because there is not many better options in the mix. We aren't sat here, I've heard people out there celebrating the fact they think he's going. It doesn't get any better with West Street. It doesn't get any better with Angelina. Certainly doesn't get any better with Ed Miliband, but that's the choices that this country is going to... No, in fact, it's the choices the Labour Party is going to face and get to make without the permission of the great British public.
Nigel Nelson, since we were last on air, it's got worse for Keir Starmer, unimaginably rapidly, horrifically. There's no way of surviving this. No way. He's a dead man walking. He's finished.
Well, not quite. When Matt was talking about the fact that the Labour Party are no longer thinking about cost of living, energy and all the various other problems, that's the one thing Keir Starmer wants to get back on. He doesn't want to be spending his time fighting his backbenchers or losing ministers. If Keir Starmer survives the day, and I do put an if on this, it'll mean that he has got another chance. At the moment, the only way he will go is if a number of cabinet ministers resign. They might this afternoon. There's a lot of toing and froing we can see going on in Downing Street at the moment. It's possible that'll happen. If it doesn't happen, we look forward to tomorrow and the King's speech. What then he will outline is the legislative programme for this Parliament. The idea of that is it puts his words from yesterday, the speech that didn't quite do it, the comeback speech, but it puts those words into action, and his backbenchers will have a better chance of judging whether or not the Labour government is going in the right direction.
A lot of the names on this list, again, I'm going through this data now, that's why I'm somewhat distracted. It's so interesting that the vast majority of the parliamentarians who turned on Keir Starmer are set to lose their seats to Reform UK. And I wonder, actually, if that was precipitated by what many people think was a disastrous speech yesterday, where once again he said it's time to go closer back to Brussels. It's time to more or less abandon Brexit. The Brexit voters voted most vociferously against the Keir Starmer last Thursday. And Brexit land is still alive and kicking. And he got a kicking from the Prime Minister. And now they're kicking back at him. He's totally abandoned the working class vote. Now it's payback time.
Don't set up a narrative that we are going back over Brexit. Brexit is done and dusted.
It's not, my friend.
We're not going back.
You're in the same bubble as the Prime Minister. Brexit land, the values, the abandonment, the wages, uncontrolled immigration, the white working classes being at the bottom of the heap is very much alive and kicking. This party's forgotten it, and maybe you have too.
I'm not saying that we're forgetting Brexit land. What I'm saying is that the idea of getting closer to Europe is not about rejoining Europe. It's not about abandoning Brexit.
It's not about paying them £1 billion a month for the privilege.
Well, first of all,
we left the European Union.
First of all, that figure.
If we pay £1 billion a year,
that figure,
we don't get a voice or a veto.
That figure has yet to be negotiated. It's an estimated figure based on what Switzerland pays for single market access, and it's.
Do you think we get a free lunch out of Brussels?
We won't get a free lunch. It's a negotiation, but the idea of throwing £1 billion around now is pointless because it is part of that negotiation, and it's based on this estimated figure because Switzerland's is a third of the size of Britain.
Matt Vickers, let's bring you back in now. I sincerely think this is about a political class, and I think we need to lay some blame at the Conservatives' door, who have just abandoned and forgotten the working class, treated them as far right. Not your government, but certainly this one. They're far right. You're far right if you disagree with immigration. You're far right if you agree with protecting our culture, our patriotic values, and the metropolitan, inner city, Zone 1, folding Brompton bike mindset that's gripped this government has finally come home to roost today, I think. And that's what this is about. Look at the names on this list. They know. And irrespective of their party politics, irrespective, Matt Vickers, if they're political enemies of yours, they're people with jobs, with constituents, with responsibilities, and they signed up in good faith. And not many of them will believe, as those councillors did, lost their jobs by the thousands on Thursday night. They feel that their boss has abandoned them, and now it's payback time.
Well, the thing is, you hear about, the government's going the wrong way, it needs to change direction. It's been going the wrong way for 18 months. People have been losing their jobs. Things are going in all the right... There's less police on the street. Things are all going the wrong way under this government, actually, and it has real-world consequences. People are angry about immigration. They're right to be angry about immigration. They're also angry about their inability to make ends meet. People are losing their jobs as a result of the decisions Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer. That is their lives. That's their ability to look after their children. However bad the last government was, we had near record levels of employment. People could go get a job, get on in life. Actually, look at gas and oil. We're refusing, because of some ideological position, to drill it in the North Sea. That is costing people in my part of their world their jobs. 200,000 jobs rely on that. Instead, We're importing it from abroad. We're taking the emissions and the environmental impact that comes with that. We're taking the price spikes that come with that for people who want to fuel their family car and go somewhere, or actually the businesses who want to create jobs and deliver economic growth. It is a disaster for all sorts of reasons. This government didn't start going in the wrong direction on Thursday. It's been going in the wrong direction for 18 months. And perhaps if these MPs had stood up to him a bit sooner, they wouldn't end up in the situation they are. And people in my constituency wouldn't be suffering like they are.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Matt Vickers. Pleasure to have your company. What's an incredibly busy day in politics. Nigel Nelson, we're expecting ministers to continue to resign throughout the rest of the day. You know, there's a funereal mood on Downing Street ahead of the King's speech tomorrow. What an embarrassment that'll be. You know, a King's speech with a government which is a zombie government now. Well, the King's speech... It's a total embarrassment.
The King's speech goes ahead. So we will see the programme that's being set out. Obviously, the King may not be quite so pleased to find a government in quite such disarray at the moment. But what Keir Starmer has said is he's going to carry on. He's going to carry on governing the country. And on the basis of that, it's quite right that the King's speech should go ahead so we can see what the programme is for this coming Parliament.
Don't you think it's an embarrassment to the King to be dragged into this tawdry bun fight? Yeah, the King is the monarch. He should be doing his job and not worrying about would this Prime Minister, you know, live longer than Larry the cat.
Well, I mean, seriously. Larry's 15 years old, so I'm just hoping he goes on for a bit longer. The King is just doing his constitutional duty. He has to come in and make that speech. That is only part of it. He's not involved in the policy, so it is his government, not his Prime Minister, who is giving him that speech, and that is what he will do tomorrow.
All right, let's look at the manoeuvres today. Jess Phillips is the biggest name so far to fall. Not a full-blown cabinet minister, but a minister nevertheless, a safeguarding minister, of course. Very heavily criticised over her involvement in the rape gangs inquiry. You know, she had a very bruising general election campaign, a lot of misogyny directed towards her by Gaza Independence. She's been very, very outspoken all these years. She's also a long-term ally and close friend of a certain Wes Streeting. Is her resignation, do you think, of a special interest? Because this now might be the beginnings of a movement to back that man on our screens there, Wes Streeting, as Keir Starmer's replacement.
Well, one can look at signals and try and extrapolate things from them. I would give you a counter one, that one of the cabinet ministers who came out today in support of Keir Starmer was the Business Secretary, Peter Kyle. He is Wes Streeting's best friend in politics. So what does one interpret from that? Do you say then, oh, well, maybe Wes isn't thinking of going to run or not? The situation, that someone like Jess Phillips, she's a very principled woman. I think she's had a very hard time dealing with the rape gang inquiry. And also she's had Harriet Harman come in, who will be
but that was because, like a lot of this government, she continually over the years refused to call out Muslim rape gangs because it was racist. And that's another thing that I'm saying is coming back to haunt this government at the moment, an abandonment of the working classes. I think it runs through the heart of the failure of this government. And they've abandoned the working classes over Brexit this past week. Yesterday. Do you not find it astonishing?
Well, first of all, they haven't abandoned the working classes over Brexit. As we keep talking about...
Immigration?
Brexit is...
Rape gangs?
Immigration is what...
Calling everyone far right who disagrees with children being murdered?
Immigration, as we can see...
disagree with an asylum hotel in their community?
...is a difficult one for any government to deal with. The last government couldn't deal with it. Reform have a variety of policies on immigration which are completely and utterly unrealistic. And should they come into government, you'll soon find out that they aren't able to control immigration any better than the previous governments.
OK, Catherine Forster joins us in the studio now. You've been on Downing Street since sunrise, so welcome to the studio. You can rest your tired pins.
It's very nice to sit down. I can't tell you how nice it is to sit my bottom down here.
Chief Political Correspondent Catherine Forster, you were saying what an incredible start to the day. A marching band practising for the hugely important ceremony tomorrow of the King's speech. Meanwhile, in the background, MPs marching into Downing Street carrying out this pantomime.
I just find it so surreal. I arrived at 5:30. I couldn't get right to Downing Street because so many roads are closed for the King's speech tomorrow. So walking through St James's Park, marching band, playing out loudly, absolutely fabulous for the King's speech. And yet I'm standing in Downing Street from 6 o'clock in the morning. The cabinet meeting comes and goes. Cabinet ministers come out and say supportive things about the Prime Minister. Now, I've stood in Downing Street often enough to know that cabinet ministers don't do that. Cabinet ministers, we shout at them and they ignore us. They came across, they had a chat, they said all the right things. But then we discover that actually the Prime Minister said in that meeting, I'm not here to talk about the election results. I'm not here to talk about the leadership. If you've got concerns about that, talk to me individually, and proceeded to talk about Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, the economic fallout from that, and the King's speech tomorrow. Now, apparently some, including Wes Streeting, then tried to speak to the Prime Minister. That wasn't happening. Wes Streeting, very, very quiet. He's normally quite happy to chat to the media. Will he move? We are now at well over 80 MPs who have called publicly for the Prime Minister to go. Symbolically, that's important because that's over a fifth of the parliamentary Labour Party. 3 ministers, including, as you've said, Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, big ally of Wes Streeting, also Alex Davies-Jones, also victims minister. But what happens next? Because the Prime Minister seems to be digging in, and they've done exactly what the Tories did when they started to move against Boris Johnson, but they don't have an agreed plan in place. And this is a government that got elected less than 2 years ago, promising the country to stop the chaos and to bring stability and an end to the infighting. I find it just staggering that here we go again.
All eyes on the potential successor. Of course, Wes Streeting is rumoured to be behind a lot of this uprising, and people are saying, well, do you want the job or not, mate? I mean, he's got to declare. I mean, we have the numbers to trigger a potential leadership candidate, right, going out there, but they've got to put themselves forward. Does Wes Streeting want it or not? Surely, if he doesn't put himself up now, he's finished. Because if there's a reshuffle, Storm will send him to political Siberia. Yes. This is it. The time is nigh.
Yes, you would think so. I spoke to one of his allies very early this morning, and they said, look, Wes hasn't asked anybody to go over the top for him, but he has told the Prime Minister that he won't be the first to move. But if the Prime Minister clearly cannot stay, then he's ready to go, and he's got the numbers, and at least Wes Streeting is being honest. But the difficulty now is that the Prime Minister is saying, I am standing firm, I am going nowhere. If Wes Streeting decides to move, a lot of people will be very angry with him. They'll also regard it as a sort of stitch-up to try to keep Andy Burnham out. And there's so many people in Labour that don't want Wes Streeting that the left are bound to put up a candidate. Andy Burnham, on a train to London, last spotted in Euston, supposedly has got somebody lined up to give his seat to trigger a by-election for him to come back. Would he win? Would the NEC block him again? So many questions. But yes, this might be the time for Wes Streeting to put up or...
Shut up.
Yeah, don't know if I should say that this afternoon, but exactly that.
I think people are probably saying far worse things than that in Downing Street, Catherine Forster. Enough of that. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Nigel Nelson, let's get back to you. So, look, Andy Burnham, as if by magic, has waltzed into Euston. Who'd have thought?
I think at a conference down here, which I'm not sure he's attending or not, but anyway, he was here for other purposes.
But he might have other business now that's more important. But here's the thing. He was blocked in the Gorton and Denton by-election.
Which was a wrong decision.
Probably for good reason. He could well have won.
Yeah, well, he might have won, yes.
And if he'd have won, he'd have been the prime mover against Keir Starmer.
Yes.
Now, but many people, when you look at the popularity polls, look, let's be honest, Angela Rayner polls terribly with the public. She can't even stand at the moment. She's still being probed by the tax man. You know, Wes Streeting does well with the centrists, but nationwide, let's be frank.
Wes Streeting is not popular with Labour members who are the ones who would have the ultimate vote.
In fact, the Labour left today have been saying if Wes Streeting were to stand, he'd last he'd last less time than a lettuce.
This, I think, is the danger. And one of the things that we were talking about yesterday, and I still think, is that what the Labour Party should do is try and calm down and look at this whole thing reasonably. And the best answer would be to allow Andy Burnham the time to get back into Parliament. Now, if Andy Burnham can't get back into Parliament because he can't find a safe Labour seat, you've pointed out there probably isn't one in the country any longer, and I think that's probably right. If he can't get back into Parliament, we've got the answer, that Andy Burnham would not be part of a leadership challenge. Until we've actually sorted that out, he is. So the danger is that if you panic now and elect a new leader, say Wes Streeting, you would find Andy Burnham coming back at some point and probably challenging that leader. We'd be back into the same situation the Tories found themselves in, constantly changing the Prime Minister, and that does not inspire public confidence.
Now, if you're joining us, just to note, we are expecting there to be further ministerial resignations this afternoon. We are hearing this is just getting warmed up. A brief respite after Jess Phillips, the most senior person to resign thus far. But we are very much hearing this is a story with much more legs in it yet. Today, there is that resignation from Jess Phillips. She was scathing in her resignation letter. I think you're a good man fundamentally, she said, of the Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who cares about the right things. However, I've seen firsthand how that is not enough, she said. Decency is vital. Calm curiosity is also needed, but so too are fight and drive. Have a row, push back, make arguments, bring people along. Standing up and being countered can't always be workshopped. A clear dig here at the guy a lot of people think has got the personality of a photocopier.
No, I mean, Jess is making a lot of good points in her resignation letter, and we can understand that. Jess Phillips going or three other junior ministers going isn't enough. That it's got to be ministers at cabinet level. If they've really lost faith in the Prime Minister, and we know from the people who spoke out this morning, half the cabinet haven't, at least half the cabinet. If those that have start resigning, then we're in a different situation. If they don't, by the end of today, we're going to go ahead with the King's speech, and probably we're coming out of the immediate crisis. The only way that can be triggered again is if those 88 MPs agree on a candidate, the candidate agrees to stand, and they have a leadership election.
OK, let's bring in my next guest now in the studio here in Westminster. It's the politics and economics editor at City AM, and that's Mauricio Alencar. Hope I didn't get your name wrong there, that's Mauricio. Fine. Welcome to the studio. It's a pleasure to have your company. Do you want to start with the politics or the economics? Let's do the economics. The markets don't like change anywhere, ever. And they certainly don't like the change if it's going towards a left-wing government that's going to start borrowing loads of money and taxing the electorate to the hills. They're spooked, aren't they, the markets?
They are slightly spooked today. So what we've seen is a 10 basis point rise across the gilt curve, and that's effectively £2 billion more in borrowing costs added on because of that speculation, that fear of a leftward turn and more borrowing in the markets. So it's a sort of... So the city traders are effectively disciplining the government or disciplining the Labour Party into a scenario where you don't really want to sort of meddle with the fiscal rules as sort of presented by the Chancellor. OK,
just got to interrupt you there, if I may, because we've got some breaking news for you now, and it's this. There's going to be a lot of breaking news today. Brace yourselves. A planned meeting between the Prime Minister and union leaders meant for today has been cancelled. Leaders of the unions affiliated to the Labour Party, the so-called Tulo group, had been invited to Downing Street for a late afternoon meeting, but a few hours before it was due to be held, the meeting has now been cancelled. A significant move there because, of course, the unions were getting very wobbly about backing Sir Keir Starmer as recently as last week. Just to repeat that breaking news for you, a planned meeting between the Prime Minister and the union leaders meant for today has been cancelled. Leaders of the unions affiliated to Labour, the so-called Tulo group, had been invited to Downing Street for a late afternoon meeting, but a few hours before it was due to go ahead, it was cancelled. Now, we've got some more breaking news for you now. There's going to be a lot of it. Get ready for it. Get yourself a drink. Sit down. More than 100 Labour MPs have now signed a statement saying this It's no time for a leadership contest. So there we go. A fight back. We believe now the scores on the doors, it's hard to keep up. The scores on the doors, 88 MPs thus far have come out against the Prime Minister, saying it's time to stand down. 100 loyalists have just written a statement. We'll get that for you in a short moment's time. Try and get it on the screen. Written a statement saying it's no time for a leadership contest. Mauricio, Alan Carr, let's get you back in. Here we go. We expected a loyalist movement to turn up. Took them a while to get going. It seriously did. All the rebels came out first. It's taken several hours for the loyalists to show their hand.
Yeah, it's like a football match, isn't it? It's, it's 180 or 185, isn't it?
Cricket.
Cricket. I mean, it's quite it's weird what's going on in the Labour Party, that sort of factionalism that's breaking down the sort of soft left and the sort of Starmerites on the slight sort of centre left of the party as well. I've spoken to a few MPs, some of which are sort of scared about the sort of fiscal and bond market reaction. Some MPs saying that fiscal rules need to be maintained. And what I found quite interesting today is you have two groups of Labour MPs. One is the sort of left wing, the Tribune group of MPs, and the Labour Growth group, both coming up with policy packages and already sort of setting up pictures for how the Labour Party might be governed for the coming months. So there's already sort of these ideas being flown around. Obviously, these letters coming in, these real fears about Keir Starmer's leadership, and we'll have to wait to see how it pans out. I think the power ultimately lies with the cabinet and whether a cabinet minister comes out and speaks.
Nigel Nelson, quickly get you in about the significance there of that cancellation of the union meeting. Who controls the unions, who the unions decide to back will surely be key in the next phase of all of this. They want to back somebody who's more to the left. You think their natural bedfellow would be somebody like Andy Burnham. Am I right in saying that? And is there a significance in this meeting being last-minute cancelled like this? Is this further bad news for the Prime Minister?
Yes, it is. We don't know who's actually cancelled on this one. Certainly the unions asked for a meeting with the Prime Minister to discuss the situation. As far as their effect on any leadership election goes, it's not what it used to be. The unions, that now that you have a one member, one vote, the unions can't influence it in the way that they did before. But of course, the unions are important. The unions are important for donating money to the party, supporting Labour, and if they had their choice, it would be Angela Rayner who would be leader.
The amount of money that the unions give to the Labour Party is still hugely, hugely important. And without the financial lifeline, without the backing of the grassroots, nobody can effectively lead the Labour Party, can they? And yet, the Labour Party bang on all the time about Nigel Farage getting donations, but without the unions, they're dead.
Well, the unions are very important for finance. Not as much as they used to be. An awful lot of unions have non-affiliated from the Labour Party.
OK, very quickly, Mauricio, Alan Carr, before we let you go, the markets don't like change. And they're not liking the feel, are they, of a socialist government, potentially. And we learned today that the price of borrowing for Britain has rocketed. We're having to pay much more to borrow money than, for example, France or Germany. The markets don't like the direction of travel.
Yeah, and the fear is always about inflation. So the prospect with inflation already surging after the Iran war is already coming. So borrowing costs are higher already because people are pricing in that interest rate hike that, makes people's mortgages more expensive. And now with this political turmoil and the fear of borrowing more and more bonds going out into the market, that's a real fear for traders who effectively where the government goes to for borrowing.
OK, thank you very much for joining us in the studio. Appreciate your time. That's the politics and the economics editor at City AM, Mauricio Alan Carr. Very busy day. Appreciate your time. Now, please stick with us. Still to come throughout the rest of today's breathtakingly quick show. We're bringing all the very latest of the Prime Minister's almighty fight to save his premiership. How many more will resign today? A uni meeting has just been cancelled at Downing Street. And now the fight back begins from the loyalists. 100 writing a letter supporting their under fire PM. Don't go anywhere. This is GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's quite a showery theme as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, with some blustery winds and a bit of thunder around as well. Currently there is a cold front making its way southwards. That's brought a bit of rain, a bit of cloud, but it's also bringing cooler, showery air down from the north. As a result, we do have quite a lot of sunny skies through the evening across the bulk of England and Wales, and then we'll have clear skies to start the night. But with that colder air and the clear skies, a chilly start to the night before the showers and the blustery conditions in the north become more widespread, and as a result our temperatures are actually going to lift in quite a few places as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. As a result, it's not going to be especially chilly, especially when you compare it to some recent nights, but there will be a bit of a chill in the air first thing tomorrow morning and plenty of showers around. Yes, there will be some sunny spells in between those showers, but worth bearing in mind the showers could be a bit blustery and they could be heavy at times as well. It's a similar theme across, well, much of England and Wales, across Northern Ireland and also across parts of Scotland. But in Scotland, some of those showers could have a wintry element to them. So, I mean, there could be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground in particular. And generally, there could be a bit of hail around as we go through tomorrow, even to some lower levels. Perhaps the greatest chance of some thunder is across eastern parts, but further west, we're likely to have the strongest winds. So quite blustery, quite breezy down the western side of the UK, also around parts of the southwest as well. And with a fair amount of cloud and those blustery winds and that fresher air coming through, temperatures are going to be a bit below average for the time of year and really feeling it. So quite a cool feel, especially for mid-May. Plenty more showers to come for many of us as we go through the end of the day, but across northern parts of Scotland, starting to turn a little bit dry. Not totally dry, still a few showers. More showers to come as we go into Friday, particularly in the north, but a drier theme into the weekend and turning ever so slightly warmer as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A87 is closed at Sconser due to an incident. Delays continue on the A470 from Taffs Well to Nantgarvu. In North Yorkshire, the A1M southbound has one lane closed between junctions 47 and 46 after a collision. The M5 southbound in Sandwell is partially blocked at junction 1 due to a broken down vehicle. The M25 clockwise is slow between junctions 27 and 28, adding 15 minutes delay. And on the trains, there are disruptions between Manchester Piccadilly and Stockport on Avanti West Coast and cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. 3:39 is your time now. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Got some breaking news for you now. In these past few moments, as the Prime Minister battles for his survival, more than 100 loyalist Labour MPs have now signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. And the statement reads, last week, we had a devastatingly tough set of election results. It shows we have a hard job ahead to win back trust from the electorate. And that job needs to start today, with all of us working together to deliver the change the country needs. We must focus on that. This is no time for a leadership contest. We'll quickly try and get, maybe Nigel Nelson, you can have a quick look for that, see whose names are on that list. We need to go through this. It's just happened in real time. Who are the big beasts backing the Prime Minister? Breaking news, more than 100 Labour MPs have now finally, it took them long enough, they finally backed the Prime Minister. They signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. The statement reads, last week we had a devastatingly tough set of election results. It shows we have a hard job ahead to win back trust from the electorate. And that job needs to start today, with all of us working together to deliver the change the country needs. We must focus on that. To repeat, this is no time for a leadership contest. Well, let's now speak with GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters, who joins us from the Prime Minister's constituency there in Holborn in North London. And Charlie Peters, the Prime Minister at least has been thrown the first lifeline of the day from 100 loyalists in his own party, but still we're expecting resignations later on today. The unions have pulled out of a meeting at Downing Street. Very, very much still a stormy day ahead for the Prime Minister.
Well, yes, indeed, Martin. As you refer to that fresh letter from 100 Labour MPs supporting the Prime Minister, we've had echoes of that sort of language here in his constituency today as well. Many local residents telling GB News that they support the Prime Minister, they support Sir Keir Starmer, but interestingly, quite a few of them were not willing to go on camera to share that perspective. Let's listen to what people said earlier today. We'll get that picture when we can. It just hasn't come through right now. But what I can tell you, Martin, those people, they did tell me that they wanted to support the Prime Minister. They were concerned about the people who were challenging him and wanted more of an opportunity for change.
Actually really angry, not at the Prime Minister, but at people that don't seem to have the patience. We had 16 years of Conservatives running this country into the ground, and we can't even give the Labour Party and the government 2 years to try and sort it out. He doesn't have the charisma.
He should stay. I mean, so far he's been doing a reasonable job, but they haven't given him time. It takes time for change, especially when it was in such chaos.
So appealing to the right is the most heinous thing that he's done. I think he was a good man. I think he was a decent backbencher. I just think he's not a leader. It's not about small boats. It shouldn't be about small boats. People are right to be angry, but they're being angry about the wrong thing.
As you can see, a range of perspectives there from constituents in the Prime Minister's St Pancras and Holborn constituency. Some saying that he had moved too far to the right, others saying that he needed to stay the course and that those calling for change were disrupting his process. I just want to bring you very quickly a perspective I've heard from a reform voter in Sir Keir Starmer's constituency, saying that Keir Starmer is doing more damage to this country than Boris Johnson and Tony Blair did, and the longer this goes on, the worse things will get. For as long as people can't tell themselves the truth, the worse things are going to get. And that reform voter is saying that that message is about those at the top of the Labour Party. So a broad range of perspectives here, Martin. Some saying the Prime Minister needs to stay the course, but plenty of others saying that he needs to go. And it's very interesting how many of the people who said they had previously supported him and were now moving away from the Prime Minister said they were now supporting the Green Party. And that could be one of the reasons why we've heard so many ministers and MPs come out today now saying that the Prime Minister needs to move on because of his lack of radicalism and his move to the left. That concern, they say, is all about left-wing concerns.
John Peters, thank you very, very much there for valiantly soldiering on for us there in Holborn, the Prime Minister's constituency. Appreciate your time. Back to the studio, still joined by Nigel Nelson. Nigel Nelson, this letter has gone out from 100 supportive MPs, and I asked you, I think, a basic question. Who signed it? And the answer is, we don't know.
We don't know. They've not publicly named themselves, which is weird, frankly. It doesn't seem to be a specific group of MPs, so we can't even look up the membership of a group. I don't know whether those MPs are on the left or the right or the centre. It does seem peculiar to suddenly bring this intervention in without actually identifying yourselves or even the person who organised it, who's actually behind this. What it does show is civil war within the Labour Party. At the moment, we've now, looks like we've got three factions operating. These 100 MPs who don't want Keir Starmer to go at all, don't want any leadership contest, want to just get on with life as normal. You've then got the team who want to get Andy Burnham in. They want anything to be delayed, to give him time to find a common seat, to come back into Parliament and therefore be able to challenge the PM. And then, of course, you've got your Wes Streeting supporters who want the whole thing to happen now to give him a chance of getting in before Andy Burnham arrives.
It just seems very, very strange that the people who are asking for Keir Starmer to go are putting public letters forward on parliamentary paper.
Yes, it does.
Putting their name to it. You know, it's official, it's correct, it's procedural. That's how things are done. And we've got this cabal of 100 anonymous loyalists.
Well, I'd rather hope that at least one of those 100 is watching us at the moment, and they will now give us the names, because while it's significant 100 MPs say don't have the leadership contest. We don't want civil war in the party. I do think that they actually have to identify themselves and show who they are. It is bizarre that they haven't done so already.
OK, well, if you are out there, if anybody from the officers of any of those 100 Labour Party MPs are watching or listening, or anybody from Downing Street is listening, we know Downing Street listens because you tell us off when we get things wrong. If you're listening, we'd just like to know who are the 100 MPs who have put their name to a supportive list for the Prime Minister. We'd be very, very keen to get any of them on. Come on the show. Tell us why you think the Prime Minister should remain in office. Still to come throughout the show, we bring all the very latest on the Prime Minister's almighty fight to save his premiership. Now, as 100 of his backbenchers sign a statement backing him. Don't go anywhere. This is GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
A few showers are possible in Madeira and the Canaries over the next couple of days. Some wet weather affecting southern parts of Italy. Plenty of sunshine for Greece and Turkey through the rest of this week. Some warmth here as well. There's that showery rain across southern Italy, still lingering into Thursday too. The odd shower drifting south towards the Balearics. Most of southern Spain dry and sunny. And as I mentioned, the chance of 1 or 2 showers in Madeira on Wednesday. And we'll see more showers, I think, arriving in Croatia for Friday and the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
1,000 of them go to a dance class every week. Now, campaigners say that dance helps to strengthen their core, their balance and their coordination, and prevent tremors, improve their gait, and most importantly, while the music is playing, it gives them back control of their bodies. And according to Charlotte Rassell, who is the CEO of Parkinson's UK, dance is a miracle.
I slur my speech a bit. I'm very self-conscious about it, but I used to hide Parkinson's, and now I celebrate it.
You're doing brilliantly, I have to say. Colin?
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 2017, and I get a hand tremor, so I sit on my hands sometimes and have body stiffness, anxiety and so on. But dance is brilliant.
Yeah.
Dance really, really helps.
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
OK,
yeah.
so both of you. I mean, there are all sorts of pharmaceuticals that you can take, obviously, and medical things that you can do for the condition. What made you, Colin, you have no background in dance at all, do you?
No.
What made you go to a dance class?
A friend of mine who I used to box with who had Parkinson's recommended the English National Ballet Social Engagement Programme, and it's really good. So from that, I was recommended, and I went along, and I was a little bit sceptical. I've never danced before in a formal sense. But then I met these guys, and I fell in love with dance.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely superb. It helps fight my motor and non-motor symptoms.
It does, yeah. Ian, what was
Social
yours?
anxiety.
You had a background in dance.
I did, yes. I used to work for Royal Opera House, so it was not too big a step for me. I loved the family of being in a dance company. But for me, you asked about medicine. Dance is my medicine, it really is. I feel joy is my medicine, actually. And you don't feel joy very often. When you have Parkinson's, you feel depressed and anxious a lot because you don't have dopamine in your system.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, Welcome back. Your time is 10 to 4. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, I've got some breaking news for you now on this breakneck day on Downing Street. More than 100 Labour Party MPs have now signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. And the statement reads, last week we had a devastatingly tough set of election results. It shows we have a hard job ahead to win back trust from the British electorate. And that job needs to start today, with all of us working together to deliver the change the country needs. We must focus on that. This is no time for a leadership contest. Well, let's now speak with the chief political commentator at The Independent, John Rentoul. John, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. At last, 100 loyalists stand up and be counted, but we can't for the life of us find out who these 100 loyalists are. Can you shed any light on the mysterious 100 supporters of the Prime Minister?
No, but I imagine they will be publishing their names shortly. I mean, the point is that clearly there is a majority in the parliamentary party, I think, for keeping things as they are, for not having a leadership contest. But it only takes a fifth of them, which is 81, to unite behind a single candidate in order to launch a leadership election. And that's the threshold that Number 10 is worried about, whether 81 MPs are going to line up behind a single candidate. I mean, so far we've had 90 calling for Keir Starmer to go, but they come from all different parts of the spectrum. So they're not a deadly threat yet.
It just seems a bit strange because if you recall when Anna Sarwar was effectively encouraging a rebellion a few weeks ago, the front bench, the ministers, more or less as if on cue, en masse, they sent out more or less cut and paste tweets in support of the Prime Minister. We knew who they were very, very quickly. Yeah. It just seems farcical, John. The 100 MPs are supporting the Prime Minister, but they won't even say who they are.
No, but I think what was more significant possibly was that some of the cabinet ministers came out of the meeting this morning and spoke to the TV cameras to declare their support for the Prime Minister. Not all of them. In fact, only 4, I think. No, in the end, it was a lot more than 4, wasn't it? But I mean, it was initially 4, led by Steve Reid and there's Peter Kyle, Liz Kendall and Pat McFadden. I mean, quite important that they stood by the Prime Minister. They've helped sort of tilt the mood in the Prime Minister's direction. But then we've had the resignations from various ministers.
OK, we've lost John Rentoul's connection there. It's a shame. Let's get back to the studio. Nigel Nelson, I just want to continue this investigation. I just find it, today is a day of firm conviction required. Rally the wagons around the Prime Minister and protect him. And instead we get this anonymous list of God knows who. It's a farce.
I'm sorry, I'm completely sort of gobsmacked by this because you don't do it this way. What you do is, if you've done a letter, you all sign that letter, and so you know exactly who's behind it.
OK, thank you very, very much. What a day in Downing Street, and we're expecting further resignations this afternoon as the storm clouds gather over Downing Street. It's turning into a nightmare on Downing Street for the Prime Minister. Can he survive the day? Stick with us here on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's quite a showery theme as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, with some blustery winds and a bit of thunder around as well. Currently there is a cold front making its way southwards. That's brought a bit of rain, a bit of cloud, but it's also bringing cooler, showery air down from the north. As a result, we do have quite a lot of sunny skies through the evening across the bulk of England and Wales, and then we'll have clear skies to start the night. But with that colder air and the clear skies, a chilly start start to the night before the showers and the blustery conditions in the north become more widespread, and as a result our temperatures are actually going to lift in quite a few places as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. As a result, it's not going to be especially chilly, especially when you compare it to some recent nights, but there will be a bit of a chill in the air first thing tomorrow morning and plenty of showers around. Yes, there will be some sunny spells in between those showers, but worth bearing in mind the showers could be a bit blustery and they could be heavy at times as well. It's a similar theme across, well, much of England and Wales, across Northern Ireland and also across parts of Scotland. But in Scotland, some of those showers could have a wintry element to them. So, I mean, there could be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground in particular. And generally, there could be a bit of hail around as we go through tomorrow, even to some lower levels. Perhaps the greatest chance of some thunder is across eastern parts, but further west, we're likely to have the strongest winds. So quite blustery, quite breezy down the western side of the UK, also around parts of the southwest as well. And with a fair amount of cloud and those blustery winds and that fresher air coming through, temperatures are going to be a bit below average for the time of year and really feeling it. So quite a cool feel, especially for mid-May. Plenty more showers to come for many of us as we go through the end of the day, but across northern parts of Scotland, starting to turn a little bit dry. Not totally dry, still a few showers. More showers to come as we go into Friday, particularly in the north, but a drier theme into the weekend and turning ever so slightly warmer as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M9 southbound is restricted at Junction 7 near Milnathorne due to a collision. Delays are reported northbound on the A470 between Taffswell and Nantgarve. In North Yorkshire, the A164 eastbound is closed between junctions with the A11237 York North and the A169 following a serious accident, with normal conditions expected by 4:15 this afternoon. A broken-down vehicle on the M5 southbound at Junction 1 has closed one of 3 lanes. And on the trains, disruptions persist between Manchester Piccadilly and Stockport on Avanti West Coast and cross-country services. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
£76,543 and 21 pence in tax-free cash could be yours this summer. That's totally tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. And remember, because it's totally tax-free cash, you'll get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m, an action-packed day in politics. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting for you until 6 p.m. And here's what's coming up on today's action-packed show. Today's Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, is clinging onto power by his fingernails as 3 ministers have now quit the government. At the weekend, Keir Starmer claimed he wants to be Prime Minister for 10 years, but with other ministers expected to resign this afternoon. Will the Prime Minister survive the next 10 hours?
Crisis talks in the building behind me. The Prime Minister has clearly told senior allies that a rearguard action must be organised. A letter is circulating amongst Labour MPs in favour of the Prime Minister, but it's competing with those who say he should go, a number that keeps climbing.
He's got my full support and we're getting on with the job.
What was the mood like in Cabinet?
Very good. Very purposeful.
Is the Prime Minister right to be fighting on?
Is he putting party over country?
What was the mood like in Cabinet today, sir?
Are you still behind the Prime Minister? Are you still...
And some Cabinet ministers finally rallied round the Prime Minister. And moments ago, more than 100 anonymous, so far, Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. But will it be enough to save the embattled Premier? And if he does resign, who could replace him? Well, Wes Streeting fancies a swing, but his left-wing opponents have claimed he'd be lucky to outlast a lettuce, with echoes there of Liz Truss. Plus, we'll show exactly why Andy Burnham's rocky route back to power would launch a bloody all-out war from both Reform UK and the Greens to lock the Manchester mayor out of the race. And throughout the show, we'll bring you all the very latest on the Prime Minister's almighty fight to save his premiership in a hugely dramatic day in British politics here on GB News. Is turning into a nightmare on Downing Street for the Prime Minister. There are now almost 100 MPs coming out against him. 100 have just come out in favour of him, but we don't know who they are. And the latest farcical twist, the MPs who support the Prime Minister haven't even put their names on this list. If you're watching, any of you out there, please get in touch. We'd love to know who you are. We'd love to know why you're supporting your Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, today. Please get in touch with us here at GB News, and so can you, our viewers and listeners. Do you think the Prime Minister will survive the week? The King's speech is tomorrow. Is his place in the King at the centre of this huge political scrap? Is that a constitutional embarrassment? Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. But now, at last, here's your headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Martin, thank you. Good afternoon. It's just gone 4 o'clock. Your top stories this hour. 3 ministers have now resigned from Sir Keir Starmer's government as the Prime Minister fights for his political future. Alex Davies-Jones, Jess Phillips and Miata Fanbula all announced they were quitting today as Sir Keir tried to quell a mounting Labour backlash against his leadership. Sir Keir Starmer is defying the calls for him to quit, telling a meeting of his cabinet earlier today that the Labour Party has a process for challenging a leader and that has not been triggered, and insisted he would continue governing. More than 80 Labour MPs have so far urged him to resign immediately or draw up a timetable, which also includes the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. Meanwhile, sources say more than 100 Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. The statement urges colleagues to start working together. Steve Reid has urged Labour colleagues to back Sir Keir Starmer, while Technology Secretary Liz Kendall said the Prime Minister had her full support, adding there's a process to challenge the leader. No one has made that challenge. US President Donald Trump says the month-long ceasefire between the US and Iran is on massive life support. He told reporters in the Oval Office today that while the ceasefire remained in place, it was unbelievably weak. Following Trump's comments, the Iranian parliamentary speaker wrote on X that Iran's armed forces were ready to respond and to teach a lesson for any aggression. Iran laid out its demands to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz in a counter-offer sent to the US on Sunday. Donald Trump rejected the proposal, calling it totally unacceptable and a piece of garbage. There is no sign of a larger hantavirus outbreak after the evacuation of the last passengers from the disease-stricken cruise ship. That's according to the head of the UN Health Agency. But the World Health Organization's chief warned the situation could change. Meanwhile, in France, the health minister says it's not clear if the virus has mutated. It comes as authorities confirmed 3 new positive cases linked to the deadly outbreak. 3 people have died after travelling on the MV Hondius. Overall, 7 cases have been confirmed so far. A 45-year-old man has been charged with arson with intent to endanger life after reports of a fire at a former synagogue in East London. Moses Edwards will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court today after the alleged arson attack on the building in Nelson Street in Whitechapel on May the 5th. Police said minor damage was caused and no one was hurt. The incident was one of a series of separate alleged arson attacks that have targeted Jewish sites in London in the past 2 months. A 52-year-old woman who was also arrested as part of the investigation has now been released on bail to a date in August. Jurors have retired to consider their verdicts in the trial of 2 brothers accused of assaulting an armed police officer at Manchester Airport. 21-year-old Mohammed Fahir Ahmaz and 26-year-old Mohammed Ahmad are accused of assaulting PC Zachary Marsden, which they both deny. Jurors have now retired to deliberate their verdicts this afternoon as the trial at Liverpool Crown Court enters its 5th week. Zach Polanski has apologised for failing to pay the correct council tax while living on a London houseboat. The Green Party leader had faced mounting questions over whether it was his primary residence. Government guidance says a person may be liable for council tax on a boat if it is their sole or main residence. A party spokesperson said Mr Polanski had been living on the boat moored in East London until relatively recently, which he then says it's owned unique practical circumstances and considerations. And it goes on to say he has immediately taken steps to pay any council tax he may be found to owe. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for the finance.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3518 US. The pound will buy you 1.1524 euros. The price of gold is £3,459 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 10,238 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Thank you, Sophia. Now, breaking news top of this hour. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, continues his almighty fight to save his premiership as the number of ministers who have resigned from the government now rises to 3. Alex Davis-Jones, Jess Phillips and Miatta Funbale, they've all announced they're quitting their jobs as Sir Keir Starmer tries to quell a mounting Labour Party backlash after his party's drubbing in the last week's local elections. And in this past hour, somewhat mysterious breaking news. More than 100 Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest, but we don't know who they are. They don't seem to have put their names to it. If anybody's out there watching from the Labour Party, we'd love to get in touch. Who are the 100 loyalists? And more to the point, why haven't you gone public with your support for that man on the screen, Sir Keir Starmer, who is battling for his political life? Well, let's now get to Downing Street to speak to GB News' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood. Tom, the latest twist in what's becoming rapidly a farce. Why are 100 Labour Party MPs backing the Prime Minister, but they're not putting their names to this letter?
Yes, this is curious, isn't it? It's clearly an organisation by Downing Street attempting to show that the Labour Party isn't wholly obsessed with getting rid of this Prime Minister. And yet, if we look at the numbers, roughly 100 have said that the Prime Minister should go. Roughly 100 are saying the Prime Minister should stay. And that leaves around 200 Labour MPs who are yet to make a comment on this, either in private to Downing Street or in public. public to the press. That leaves a huge amount of uncertainty in terms of what's going to happen over the coming hours and indeed days. Clearly, there are a lot of people sitting on their powder, keeping it dry ahead of what is going to happen, because so many Labour MPs, indeed an absolute majority of Labour MPs, are yet to come down from one side of the fence or the other. And that leads this sort of strange situation where we find ourselves now. Crisis talks in the building behind me. The Prime Minister's top team trying to organise a rearguard action, that letter being a primary spot of focus for them. And yet, yes, curious that they are not putting out the names on that letter as of yet. I would be surprised, frankly, Martin, if they did not release the names in the coming hours, because it would start to look like they are unable to cajole their own MPs to support their own Prime Minister. That begins to look terminal. But clearly, we have also seen public declarations from members of Parliament, not just from one faction or another, but from the left of the party, from the right of the party, some even careerists within the party. I mean, we are seeing individuals across the length and breadth of the Labour Party saying it's time for Keir Starmer to go. Those names are public. Many more are saying as such behind the scenes. Still more have clearly not decided what to do yet. So much of politics is a game of guessing where the crown is going to land, and in doing so try to advance your own position within the government. And clearly no one knows where the crown is going to land, if indeed it will fall off the Prime Minister's head. And this is all in the context of course, the prorogued Parliament as it is today, MPs not all in Westminster, returning tomorrow, of course, for the King's speech, and the days of debate that will come ahead, after the King's speech on the government's agenda. Could it really be that we start to see the movings of a leadership election while that process is ongoing? Well, possibly. As you say, Martin, 3 ministers resigning today. That's on top of the 6 parliamentary private secretaries who resigned yesterday, and we're getting on for 100 members of Parliament of the Labour Party saying it's time for Keir Starmer to go. Clearly, things are in a level of crisis.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Tom Howard. I think that's the understatement of the century. Tom Howard there joining us live from Downing Street. Back to the studio now. I'm joined by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, and GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. Nigel, I'll come to you first if I could, because, again, there's some mystery surrounding a cancellation of a union meeting between Downing Street, the Prime Minister, and Sir Keir Starmer. That was meant to take place today, cancelled at short notice. Now, a lot of people will be saying straight away, well, is that the unions falling out with Keir Starmer? They've been dissatisfied, been a lot of pressure on the unions, a lot of pressure from the Prime Minister on the unions and vice versa. Are they putting away from the Prime Minister because they got their eyes on a more left-wing candidate they prefer to back instead?
Well, it rather depends on who cancelled it. And if it turns out it was the Prime Minister who cancelled it, I think he doesn't want to talk to them at the moment about his future. He's not very keen on talking to Cabinet Ministers at the moment about his future. Bear in mind, a lot's been cancelled today. Rachel Reeves pulled out of a speech today. Andy Burnham has pulled out of one tomorrow. So at the moment, there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes, and those who are behind the scenes don't want to get in front of them to talk to us about it.
Catherine Forster, let's get over to you now. There's Larry the cat. You know, one of the great constants, at least.
The most popular resident of Downing Street, I would suggest.
Who has been through 6 Prime Ministers, and he may end up going through a 7th.
Yeah, 7th Prime Minister, that cat we'll see, and that cat's long in the tooth. Catherine Forster. Let's talk about Andy Burnham now. In terms of the scores on the doors, West Street Income fancy his chances. Angela Rayner might like a nibble, but the electorate say different. Let's be absolutely blunt. The candidate who's the most popular with the electorate is Andy Burnham.
That's absolutely the case, and we know that Andy Burnham was due to appear at an event tomorrow. He's pulled out of it. Yep. He was spotted on a train. He's been seen at Euston Station, and we're wondering what is going on. The reason I think there is such chaos at the moment is because a lot of Labour MPs have had a collective nervous breakdown, but in fact, their favoured replacement for the Prime Minister, amongst many of them, isn't ready. because it's Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, and he doesn't even have a seat. But just looking at some polling from Survation, they conducted polling of the general public. If Labour leadership contrast were to take place, who would be your preferred choice to become the next Prime Minister? Andy Burnham, way out in front, 15% first preference with the general public. The next was like literally down at 5% for Angela Rayner. And if you look at Labour members, even more, 42% of those saying he would be their first preference. The next most popular, Angela Rayner and Wes Streeting, tied on 11 for first preference. But he is the runaway favourite. And the final poll that I just want to mention is, it says about the public in general, would you feel more or less favourable towards the Labour Party if this person became Prime Minister? And Yvette Cooper, Wes Streeting, 3%, maybe 2-3% bump. Ed Miliband, Angela Rayner takes you down 3 or 4%. 19% of the public say that they would be more favourable towards a Labour Party led by Andy Burnham. That is a whopping number, and that is why I think so many MPs think that this is absolutely the wrong time to move, because Andy Burnham is popular and yet he's currently not in the running.
Latest news line out, the Defence Minister Luke Pollard has said he will not be resigning from his role because the defence portfolio, he says, needs a steady hand, but doesn't offer his backing of the Prime Minister. On X, he said, whatever is happening elsewhere in British politics, national security is the first responsibility of government. That's something I take very seriously. But he doesn't recognise Keir Starmer by name, but he says he recognises the decision his colleagues are making about the leadership of our party. I too want bold leadership to deliver the change our country needs. That's the Defence Minister there, Luke Pollard, very much sitting on the fence, Nigel Nelson. Let's talk about Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham's been, he's top of the polls. A lot of people would like him back. The markets are getting a bit spooked by the thought of a socialist in control. I digress.
Centre-left.
Well, but, you know, to the market, it's a swoop to the left that the electorate didn't vote for. And that's a change that makes them flighty. That's just the way politics is. But there's no guaranteed route back for Andy Burnham anyhow. There's no such thing as a safe seat. There wasn't for the Conservatives before they got kicked out of power, and it's the same now for the Labour Party. A couple of seats, though, have been mentioned, and I wanted here to dig into your heritage and expertise. A name that keeps coming up, a supporter of Burnham, somebody who might be up for retirement, is Clive Betts.
Yeah, well, Clive Betts is 76. I would imagine he is doing his last Parliament before retiring. So there is a possibility there, but it also depends on whether he wants to serve out that last term rather than give up his seat. But an awful lot of MPs back Andy Burnham. They're not so keen when they're asked about whether or not they'll actually vacate their seat for him.
Yeah. Now, when we look at Sheffield, is it Sheffield South East, is it his seat? Sheffield South East. And when we look at that in terms of the metrics, because I'm obsessive, there it is on our screen. You can see that the Labour Party has a 44% chance of winning, but still, the Greens are on 25, Reform are on 27. Now, this is the point, Nigel Nelson. If this is the route that Burnham sees back to power, you can bet your bottom dollar Reform UK and the Green Party will throw the kitchen sink as by-election to keep Burnham out.
You would expect that. I think it may well be that had he been allowed to contest Gorton and Denton, as the NEC should have done, I said so at the time, that he should have been allowed to stand, he may have won that. That was in his backyard. Much more difficult next time round. And yes, you're right. Is there such a thing as a safe Labour seat now after what we've seen last Thursday? Can Andy Burnham get back? The important thing is that he's got to be allowed to try. The NEC have got to remove any objection to him because we need to answer this question.
OK, superb stuff. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Nigel. Now, still to come, all the very latest in the Prime Minister's battle to save his premiership. I'll be joined by a supportive Labour MP. Perhaps he was one of those 100 to sign the letter. I'm trying to find out who is in the same company. That's next here on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:22. You with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, let's take a deep breath and bring you up to speed on what was an incredible day in British politics. The breaking news in this past hour, more than 100 Labour Party MPs have now signed a statement, a supportive statement to Sir Keir Starmer, saying this is no time for a leadership contest. But here's where the mystery intensifies, where the plot thickens. We don't know who the 100 Labour MPs are. They haven't put their name to it. We still can't understand what on earth is going on. It seems farcical. If you recall, Catherine Forster and Nigel Nelson, in the minutes after Anna Sarwar went up the ladder, what appeared to be encouraging somebody to rise up and mount a leadership challenge against Sir Keir Starmer before the local elections, nobody went up the ladder. That leadership challenge didn't precipitate. But if you recall that there was almost a cut and paste tweet went out from all the ministers as if orchestrated on cue. So the support came thick and fast, and the support was named. But today, we've got this incredible situation where there's a letter gone out with no one's put their name to it.
A letter that's gone out that seems to be organised by backbench MPs rather than Number 10. And I think what it shows is a sort of vacuum, perhaps, at the heart of the Number 10 operation, because the level of churn that there has been off the chart. We've had, I think we're on the third Chief of Staff at the moment. They've got joint Chiefs of Staff, because we had Sue Gray, then we had Morgan McSweeney. We've had at least 4 Directors of Communications. So many allies of the Prime Minister have been in Number 10 and are not there. any longer, and he is looking incredibly isolated. I did feel that there was clearly a concerted effort after the Cabinet. The Prime Minister tried to stamp his authority, basically saying to the Cabinet, I'm not talking about local elections, I'm not talking about leadership, come and see me afterwards if you want. And then when they tried to see him afterwards, he wouldn't talk to them. And those supportive noises, but behind the scenes, clearly, there's plenty of people want him gone because they think they're going to lose their seats, and there's also plenty of people thinking, what are you doing?
OK, Catherine, we've got to cut across you. Let's get now to GB News' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, live from Downing Street. Tom Harwood, I believe somebody else has quit.
Just very quickly, Harold,
That's right, Martin. There has been a fourth ministerial resignation today. Dr. Zubair Ahmed, now he was a minister in the Health Department, seen to be close to Wes Streeting. He has now resigned from his position and called for Keir Starmer to go. It's notable that he was a minister in the Health Department, that he has been seen as a close ally of Wes Streeting, and that he is the next individual named minister to go over the top to say that Starmer must stand down. This is beginning to look like we could be inching towards a move where Wes Streeting himself might say something. A number of those associated with him, of course, throughout the latter part of yesterday and today have been those who have been calling for the Prime Minister to go, not exclusively Wes Streeting allies, of course. There have been people from all across the Labour Party calling for him to go. However, in the most recent couple of resignations in terms of ministers, these are people that are seen to be slightly closer to Wes Streeting. And of course, the received wisdom here in Westminster is that a shorter contest, one that is brought about sooner, favours Wes Streeting, as opposed to one that drags on longer, favouring Andy Burnham, giving him time to return to those green benches. But just to repeat, we have now had the fourth ministerial resignation from this government. We have yet to hear any replacements for the ministers who have themselves resigned. There are more and more holes now opening up in this government, and it will become harder and harder for the Prime Minister to plug them.
Tom Harwood, when you mentioned this particular health minister, Zubair Ahmed, I noted earlier, of course, Jess Phillips, a long-term friend, colleague, associate, very close with Wes Streeting herself, of course, in her 2020 leadership campaign. Cash your minds back, Jess Phillips was actually in that leadership campaign. She personally appointed Wes Streeting as her parliamentary campaign chair. They go back a long time. Is this, to you, Tom Harwood, starting to feel like a coalescence of pro-Streeting allies forming a rump?
Now, I would be careful to say that this is exclusively a Wes Streeting operation, because clearly we've seen people from a very different wing of the Labour Party than Wes Streeting. We've seen people on the far left wing of the Labour Party call for the Prime Minister to go. We've seen many other different moves from people that aren't clearly associated with Wes Streeting. But I would say that in the latter part of this afternoon, it does begin to feel like more of an operation that is close to Wes Streeting. As you mentioned, Jess Phillips there, of course now with Zubair Ahmed, the health minister, working directly beneath Wes Streeting in his department. We also saw Wes Streeting's parliamentary private secretary yesterday being not the first, but one of the first PPSs to resign from this government as well. It is building a picture. Now, I would say if this was exclusively a Wes Streeting operation, it wouldn't be at the level that it is now. And of course, we would be not talking about the almost 100 Labour MPs who have called for this Prime Minister to go. There's clearly more to it. I don't think many people expect that Catherine West is herself a Wes Streeting acolyte, and yet she was the first person to sort of instigate what has become this putative leadership election. And yet, that all being said, clearly it would favour Wes Streeting for more to happen sooner. So it could be that people that are seen closer to Wes, whether they've arrived at this independently or perhaps more likely that this is coordinated, this is now rolling on. Something is afoot. And I would expect that Wes Streeting will have to say something in the coming hours or days, given that this is now rolling at a pace.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, Tom Howard, a lot of people have been saying it's now or never. You know, Wes Streeting has been nakedly ambitious of his desire to be the Premier of this country. Surely, if he doesn't move quickly, he loses that advantage and he allows others to group. This is the moment. When can we hear from him?
That's exactly right, Martin. History is littered with chances not taken. In fact, there's a curious superstition in Westminster that he who wields the knife does not wear the crown, and that sort of superstition that has sort of been around all of these different parties and their different leadership elections have prevented people from making moves in many cases. It prevented David Miliband making a move in 2007, even though we latterly learnt that in 2007 David Miliband met with Tony Blair to ask for advice on whether he should challenge Gordon Brown. In the end, he ducked that challenge and Gordon Brown became Prime Minister unopposed. We also saw it much later with many other individuals throughout the times that the Tory party was in office, people that could have perhaps launched a fight against Theresa May at various points of her premiership and refused to do so. Going back to the 1990s, we saw Michael Portillo miss his moment in 1995 when he had phone lines put in at his potential campaign headquarters and then not challenge John Major. That was potentially his missed chance. Of course, he never became party leader or Prime Minister after that. So perhaps Wes Streeting must think to himself now that yes, of course, there's this superstition of going first in a contest, that might hold someone back as a candidate. But my goodness me, someone is going to be held back so much more if they never go for it at all. There are many more examples of people who miss their moment in political history, of examples of people who could have challenged the Prime Minister and stepped back from the brink and then never get to that top job that they could desire. So potentially Wes Streeting will now be thinking, it's now or never.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom Harwood, for bringing us up to speed. A dramatic day. I suspect the drama is far from over. Thank you there, Tom Harwood, live from Downing Street. Just to add, Zubir Ahmed, the Under Secretary for Health, he sat in that very chair, Catherine Forster. Last week I interviewed him for the GBNews Tonight slot, and he gave his unconditional loyalty to Keir Starmer. Funny old game, isn't it, politics? There we go. So I'm going to go over a recap of where we are so far, and I think today it's just going to keep on getting more and more dramatic. Let's get the latest on screen of those who have resigned so far today. Can we get that and call for the Prime Minister to go? You can see on your screens there we have Tom Rutland MP. He was a parliamentary private. We've got Joe Morris, we've got Nashaba Khan, we've got Melanie Ward, Sally Jameson, we have Gordon McKee and others. And the list simply keeps growing. And we're trying to get hold of one of the 100 MPs supporting Sir Keir Starmer to come onto the show. I do think we have one teed up. I'm hoping so, because that's the missing part of this equation. Everybody who's going against the Prime Minister is happy to be named, sending official letters, going up the ladder in the normal manner. Catherine Forster just seems more and more curious by the minute that the 100 mystery Labour MPs aren't prepared to be named.
It does, and you do think, why are the names not out there? Maybe they will be soon. But just to update you on what the Prime Minister is actually up to, because, of course, we're all obsessing about Wes Streeting and what Andy Burnham's doing. The Prime Minister is currently trying to sort of keep calm, carry on, and he's out and about. I knew there was going to be a visit this afternoon. I was wondering if, in fact, it would have been pulled. But he has been at the London South Bank Technical College, talking about apprenticeships, as was originally planned. He's back now, which is why I can tell you about it, but we'll get pictures soon. So Number 10 are still trying to project we're getting on with doing what we need to do to run the country amidst the chaos. But I mean, there is nothing normal about the atmosphere on Downing Street. I've only been on that street. I've been on that street dozens of times, but only once or twice before that it's felt like today. One of those days was the day that Liz Truss went. Another day, of course, Boris Johnson.
Liz Truss, of course, who didn't last as long as a lettuce and could today, well, just be the tip of the iceberg for Sir Keir Starmer. Still to go, all the very latest in the Prime Minister's battle for survival, the battle to save his premiership as the fourth minister now resigns from government. The pressure mounts on Sir Keir Starmer. This is GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's quite a showery theme as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, with some blustery winds and a bit of thunder around as well. Currently there is a cold front making its way southwards. That's brought a bit of rain, a bit of cloud, but it's also bringing cooler, showery air down from the north. As a result, we do have quite a lot of sunny skies through the evening across the bulk of England and Wales, and then we'll have clear skies to start the night. But with that colder air and the clear skies, a chilly start to the night before the showers and the blustery conditions in the north become more widespread, and as a result our temperatures are actually going to lift in quite a few places as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. As a result, it's not going to be especially chilly, especially when you compare it to some recent nights, but there will be a bit of a chill in the air first thing tomorrow morning and plenty of showers around. Yes, there will be some sunny spells in between those showers, but worth bearing in mind the showers could be a bit blustery and they could be heavy at times as well. It's a similar theme across, well, much of England and Wales, across Northern Ireland and also across parts of Scotland. But in Scotland, some of those showers could have a wintry element to them. So, I mean, there could be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground in particular. And generally, there could be a bit of hail around as we go through tomorrow, even to some lower levels. Perhaps the greatest chance of some thunder is across eastern parts, but further west, we're likely to have the strongest winds. So quite blustery, quite breezy down the western side of the UK, also around parts of the southwest as well. And with a fair amount of cloud and those blustery winds and that fresher air coming through, temperatures are going to be a bit below average for the time of year and really feeling it. So quite a cool feel, especially for mid-May. Plenty more showers to come for many of us as we go through the end of the day, but across northern parts of Scotland, starting to turn a little bit dry. Not totally dry, still a few showers. More showers to come as we go into Friday, particularly in the north, but a drier theme into the weekend and turning ever so slightly warmer as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Traffic is restricted eastbound on the A1 at Walliford due to a broken down vehicle. In North Yorkshire, the A64 eastbound is closed after a collision, with normal conditions expected by 4:30. A lane on the M5 southbound in Sandwell is closed for a broken down vehicle, expected to clear by 5:30. Congestion on the A27 eastbound in Brighton leads to 15-minute delays. In Devon, lane closures on the A38 eastbound are due to an abandoned vehicle. And on the trains, there are disruptions on Avanti West Coast services between Manchester Piccadilly and Stockport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Time is 4:38 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, breaking news in these past few minutes. The Health Minister, Zubair Ahmed, has resigned from the government. The fourth minister now to go, citing a lack of values-driven leadership. Of course, that makes him the fourth minister to resign today. Let's now speak with the former Labour advisor, Danny Shaw. Danny, the ministers are dropping like flies. This does not bode well for Keir Starmer.
It feels like death by a thousand cuts, doesn't it, Martin? It's a really dismal day. I do think that matters are coming to a head. And, you know, I remember back in the day when John Major's premiership was brought into question, in the 1990s, when he had a party that was riven by splits after he took over from Margaret Thatcher. And remember, he came out and he sort of made a speech that said, "Put up or shut up." And, I do think that's what it really requires. I honestly think that it requires Keir Starmer to come out and say, if you want to challenge me, come out now and challenge me. Mount a challenge and we'll have a contest. But if you don't, then get behind the government, support your Prime Minister, support the ministers. Let's try and do a better job of governing in the next year than we have done in the past 2 years. And, that's what it feels like. That's what leadership really should entail. And we didn't get that yesterday from that speech.
Danny Shaw, when you look at what Zubir Ahmed said in his resignation letter, it's just brutally truthful. And it's something we've heard a lot, and that is during the local election campaigns, you have the rude awakening of being face to face with the electorate. You're not in Westminster anymore. You're copying it. You're copying it on the doorstep. And he said this, Zubir Ahmed: "It was clear from recent days that the public across the UK now irretrievably have lost confidence in you as Prime Minister." The Glasgow South West MP continued, "It was apparent in the recent Scottish Parliament elections where on door after door after door your name was specifically cited as a reason that people are being driven away from the Labour Party." Danny Shaw, we've heard that from so many parliamentarians across the Red Wall, across the North, across the North East, and across Wales and across Scotland. The personal baggage of the Prime Minister is so toxic. That's why they're all saying Sir Keir Starmer has to go.
No one's doubting what those people are saying and what people's experiences and views are at all. I can absolutely believe it. My question would be, what do you do when you're in this situation? Do you just jettison the leader that brought you this historic election victory, that actually brought the party from the depths of despair after 2019 and managed to mount a credible alternative to the Conservatives and win a stomping majority at the election? Do you just jettison them after less than 2 years, or do you stick with them and try and see it through and try and make some improvements and make some headway? Because what are you going to do in a year's time when you've got a new leader and also you go on the doorsteps and they're, as unpopular as this one? Are you going to get rid of them as well? I mean, really, people have to get real. Governing is really, really difficult. And yes, this government has not made a good job of it so far, by and large. But really, is this what you do after less than 2 years? I mean, this isn't a soap opera. This isn't a drama show. This is reality.
It is
we
a soap
have
opera.
wars going on in the Middle East
worse.
and Russia, Ukraine. You have a Prime Minister that has stepped up on the international stage. And I really think people should think about that.
Danny, it's worse than a soap opera. It's a farce. It's an abject farce. We have a Prime Minister who had a very shallow majority. We had an electorate who just wanted change. They voted for what they were told. Calm, chaos. The adults are back in control. The polished halo of sanctimony in opposition. The demand that everybody resigns for the tiniest of indiscretions. And in power, Sir Keir Starmer has been all of those with treacle on top. It's about hypocrisy. It's about double standards, about the same old spivery, the same old Westminster navel-gazing nonsense. And on last Thursday, the electorate withered the Labour Party. That is why these parliamentarians now are saying we can't carry on like this. These parliamentarians are guaranteed to lose their seats. I've been crunching the data. 55% of these parliamentarians are going to lose to Reform UK, 31% to the Green Party, 8% to the SNP. There are one or two that will hold their seats if a general election were held today. That's the point. You've got 100 people here looking at going back on the dole queue. That's not their fault. It's the Prime Minister's fault.
There's a lot of time before the next election. As you well know, Martin, a week is a long time in politics. Over 3 years is a hell of a long time in politics. In 2020, 2021, the Labour Party and Sir Keir Starmer was at rock bottom. A few years later, they were in government with a big majority. And we can talk about how they got that. And we can talk about how shallow it was. And I'm absolutely not defending the record of the Premiership or the this government in terms of a lot of the things they've done. What I'm saying is, think really seriously about whether this moment, May 2026, with all the crises internationally, 3 years plus away from a general election, is this the moment to change leader when you don't even know who your leader is going to be, what they want to do, what their programme is, how they're going to do things differently, buffeted by the financial headwinds that are coming down the track, already coming down the track because of the Middle East crisis and so on. I just think people have got to, have a little bit of sort of stomach for the fight. I know it was a disastrous result last week, the local elections, but I don't think right now is the time to be having a leadership contest.
Well, a lot of people disagree. And
That's
that
fine.
list
People
is
can disagree.
growing.
Absolutely.
On our screen,
I understand
our
that.
screen now, people who are clearly staring down the barrel of political oblivion. Their constituents are telling them in no uncertain terms Keir Starmer is toxic. Tom Rutland, Joe Morris, Nishabah Khan, Melanie Ward, Sally Jameson, Gordon McKee, Miata Funbale, Jess Phillips, Alex Davis-Jones, Zabir Ahmed in these past 15 minutes. The list is growing. We expect it to grow further and further and further. Surely now, Danny, it's only a matter of time before a leadership challenge steams in.
Look, you may absolutely be right, Martin. I'm not naive. I can see the way the wind is blowing. I can see all those resignations. The pressure is piling up. But I would just say to the leadership contenders, put your money where your mouth is. There's a lot of plotting behind the scenes. Then come out and make the challenge and make the case and make us understand why you are going to be better than the current person in charge. That's the thing that really gets me, is a sort of lack of guts and a lack of honesty about it. It's all very well to have your little plans and your plots, behind the scenes. If you really think that you can do a better job than the PM, come out, make the case, make a challenge.
I think on that we can all agree. Danny Shaw, thank you as ever for your expertise. I appreciate your time. Now then, let's just get back to still to come on the show. All the very latest, of course, in the Prime Minister's battle to save his premiership. As now the fourth minister in a row has resigned from the government. It's turning into a nightmare on Downing Street. Perhaps only Larry the Cat will survive the day. That's next on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
A few showers are possible in Madeira and the Canaries over the next couple of days. Some wet weather affecting southern parts of Italy. Plenty of sunshine for Greece and Turkey through the rest of this week. Some warmth here as well. There's that showery rain across southern Italy, still lingering into Thursday too. The odd shower drifting south towards the Balearics. Most of southern Spain dry and sunny. And as I mentioned, the chance of 1 or 2 showers in Madeira on Wednesday. And we'll see more showers, I think, arriving in Croatia for Friday and the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
He was born in Stratford-upon-Avon in 1564 into a prosperous family and moved to London sometime in the late 1500s. The bard wrote 38 plays, 2 narrative poems and 154 sonnets. Speaking to GB News in 2025, director at the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust Professor Charlotte Scott said the success of Shakespeare across the globe has helped to extend his influence.
We feel very passionately and proudly about Shakespeare's works and the way in which they have become significant across the globe in different ways. And Shakespeare is, of course, constantly being reinvented through adaptation in theatre. And that's wonderful, because that allows us to return to Shakespeare as a kind of agile source for further creativity.
Credited with over 1,700 words in the English language, his influence creeps into every part of our lives, and his works are still recited to the masses. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more. Or at least it's something like that. 462 years on since his birth, how do people in his hometown of Stratford view Britain's most famous playwright?
I just think it's really important still to learn about him, because you never stop learning about him, do you? There's so much to take in about him.
I think it's useful to learn about. I think it's more interesting for adults to learn about than children, to be honest, because we learn more when we're actually interested in it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in, Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It is now 10 to 5 with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, it's starting to look like the markets are getting nervous about the chaos in Westminster. UK borrowing costs have surged, the pound has slipped, and rumours are swirling about Sir Keir Starmer's future. Investors hate uncertainty, and right now there's plenty of that in the air. So, is Britain heading for political and economic turbulence all over again? Let's now speak with the economist and the former economic advisor to the government, Vicky Price. Vicky, you've heard it all there. The government hates uncertainty, and that's the name of the day today.
Well, the markets don't like it at all, neither does business more generally. And of course, households don't like it too. They don't really know whether they're going to have jobs in the future or not if they see that there is likely to be turbulence. The ones who do like it are, of course, the traders. And you've seen, of course, with the great volatility we've had in both in oil prices and also what is going on the tariff front and what's happening with equities, that those traders, investment banking arms of banks, have done incredibly well. But the rest of us, unfortunately, not. And you're quite right. Markets don't like this type of insecurity that we've got right now in terms of what the outcome is going to be of all those discussions now and all these ministers indeed resigning. So indeed, we've seen the FTSE go down today, not hugely, but go down. And indeed, the pound has also fallen, but it hasn't gone below 1.35 to the dollar. So it's still managing to keep a certain amount of stability, mainly because the markets also think that because of the inflation increases that we're seeing and we're likely to see, rates may stay high, interest rates.
OK, Vicky Price, thank you very, very much. Short but sweet. Thanks for joining us on the show today. Let's get back to the studio for some more reaction. Nigel Nelson, you've got a line for us on Zubair Ahmed. Seems he's very close to West Streeting.
He's indeed, yes. I've just been talking to a friend of Zubair Ahmed's, and it doesn't mean that something is actually about to happen. What I think is going on is that people are positioning themselves, and what this friend tells me is there's no way he would have quit without Wes's approval. So it's quite clear that there is something going on here. He's a new MP. He became a PPS to Wes Streeting. Immediately got into Parliament. So these two are very close.
And Jess Phillips earlier on, of course, a close associate. Quickly, if we could, Nigel, is this starting to feel like Streeting loyalists going up the ladder first, maybe paving the way for the big man himself, Wes Streeting?
I think what's happening is it is positioning. And so in the event that there will be a leadership race, then Wes Streeting will be first off the starting blocks.
And it seems absolutely bizarre, does it not, to think that the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is carrying on as normal today, down at the South Bank Centre, talking about apprenticeships. Apparently, I learned from Catherine Forster didn't even tell the media about that. So going under the wire, carrying on as normal, the bureaucrat as ever. Meanwhile, chaos in Downing Street. 100 parliamentarians supporting the Prime Minister have signed a letter supporting him, but they haven't put their names to it. Who are these Scarlet Pimpernel parliamentarians? If you're watching the show, we'd love to talk to you, because nobody knows who you are. How can it be the case that 100 parliamentarians backing the Prime Minister, who is fighting for his life, can't sign a letter when they put their names on it and tell us who you are? It's an utter, abject farce. Come on the show. You know where we are? We're GB News. We're Britain's #1 news channel. And we would absolutely love to hear from you on this day that's turning into a nightmare on Downing Street. Plenty more after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's quite a showery theme as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, with some blustery winds and a bit of thunder around as well. Currently there is a cold front making its way southwards. That's brought a bit of rain, a bit of cloud, but it's also bringing cooler, showery air down from the north. As a result, we do have quite a lot of sunny skies through the evening across the bulk of England and Wales, and then we'll have clear skies to start the night. But with that colder air and the clear skies, a chilly start to the night before the showers and the blustery conditions in the north become more widespread, and as a result our temperatures are actually going to lift in quite a few places as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. As a result, it's not going to be especially chilly, especially when you compare it to some recent nights, but there will be a bit of a chill in the air first thing tomorrow morning and plenty of showers around. Yes, there will be some sunny spells in between those showers, but worth bearing in mind the showers could be a bit blustery and they could be heavy at times as well. It's a similar theme across, well, much of England and Wales, across Northern Ireland and also across parts of Scotland. But in Scotland, some of those showers could have a wintry element to them. So, I mean, there could be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground in particular. And generally, there could be a bit of hail around as we go through tomorrow, even to some lower levels. Perhaps the greatest chance of some thunder is across eastern parts, but further west, we're likely to have the strongest winds. So quite blustery, quite breezy down the western side of the UK, also around parts of the southwest as well. And with a fair amount of cloud and those blustery winds and that fresher air coming through, temperatures are going to be a bit below average for the time of year and really feeling it. So quite a cool feel, especially for mid-May. Plenty more showers to come for many of us as we go through the end of the day, but across northern parts of Scotland, starting to turn a little bit dry. Not totally dry, still a few showers. More showers to come as we go into Friday, particularly in the north, but a drier theme into the weekend and turning ever so slightly warmer as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Traffic is slow on the A1 eastbound at Wallyford due to a broken down vehicle. The A16-4 eastbound in North Yorkshire is closed after a collision, expected to clear by 5:15. On the M62 westbound in Salford, one lane is closed after a crash. The M25 clockwise in Hertfordshire is congested with a lane closed due to another broken down vehicle. The A27 eastbound at Brighton and Hove causes 15-minute delays. And on the trains, Greater Anglia services between Colchester and Hythe and Northern between Scunthorpe and Doncaster are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Are you dreaming of a ton of tax-free cash this summer? We want to make that dream come true with a stunning £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to spend however you like. Put a new car on the drive or just relax in the knowledge that this year we've got your back. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard Standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting for you for the next hour until 6 p.m. Chaos on Downing Street. And here's what's coming up on today's show. Keir Starmer is now clinging onto power by his fingernails as this afternoon a fourth Labour minister has now quit the Labour government. At the weekend, Keir Starmer claimed he wanted to be Prime Minister for 10 more years. But with other ministers expected to follow suit and resign this afternoon, can the Prime Minister even survive the next 10 hours?
With Daubney.
Zubair Ahmed makes the 10th government resignation just in the last 24 hours. First, we had 6 parliamentary private secretaries, now 4 ministers. The question is, who's next?
I've got my full support and we're getting on with the job.
What was the mood like in Cabinet?
Very good. Very purposeful.
Is the Prime Minister right to be fighting on?
Is he putting party over country?
What was the mood like in Cabinet today, sir?
Are you still behind the Prime Minister?
There we see some cabinet ministers rallying around the Prime Minister, but in this past hour, more than 100 mysterious Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. But for the life of us, we can't find out who these 100 Scarlet Pimpernel parliamentarians are. They haven't put their name to a letter. They seek them here, they seek them there, they seek these Labour MPs everywhere. If any of you are listening, please phone in. We'd love a little chat. Anyway, if Sir Keir Starmer does resign today, who could replace him? Well, Wes Streeting fancies a swing, and in fact, a lot of his loyalists are now resigning, but his left-wing opponents have claimed he'd be lucky to outlast a lettuce. And of course, that's bringing back memories of Liz Truss. Just the tip of the iceberg, all the troubles here for Sir Keir Starmer. Plus, we'll show exactly why Andy Burnham's rocky route to power would launch a bloody, all-out war from both Reform UK and the Green Party to lock the Manchester Mayor out of power. Now, throughout the show, we bring you all the very latest reaction, all the very latest breaking news on the Prime Minister's almighty fight to save his embattled premiership. It's a nightmare on Downing Street for Sir Keir Starmer. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. Sir Keir Starmer's carrying on as normal. He's down at the South Bank Centre in one of those parliamentary photographs we've come to be so familiar with. He's in his suit. There's a geezer in a hard hat, lay some bricks, talk about apprenticeships at the South Bank Centre, but the media weren't even told. The media weren't even told he'd be there, perhaps fearing the press pack asking him questions he simply doesn't want to answer. Meanwhile, 100 parliamentarians have come out in favour of the Prime Minister, but we don't know who they are. It seems to be beyond the wit of them to publish a letter with their names on. We'd love to speak to one of them. please get in touch. gbnews.com/You'll Say is the way to do so, or scan the QR code on your screens now. We're hearing more resignations could be imminent this hour. Don't go anywhere. First, so, here's your headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Martin, thank you. Your headlines at 3 minutes past 5. 4 ministers have now resigned from Sir Keir Starmer's government as the Prime Minister fights for his political future. An ally of Wes Streeting, Health Minister Zubair Ahmed is the latest to quit, telling him it is clear from recent days that the public across the UK has now irretrievably lost confidence in you as Prime Minister. It comes after Alex Davies-Jones, Jess Phillips and Miatta Fahnbulleh all announced they were quitting today. Sir Keir Starmer is defying mounting calls for him to leave, telling a meeting of his cabinet earlier that Labour Party has a process for challenging a leader and that has not been triggered, and he insisted he would continue governing. More than 80 Labour MPs who have so far urged him to resign immediately or draw up a timetable, which also includes the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood. Meanwhile, sources say more than 100 Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. The statement urges colleagues to start working together. Earlier, Steve Reid urged Labour colleagues to back Sir Keir Starmer, while Technology Secretary Liz Kendall said the Prime Minister had her full support. US President Donald Trump says the month-long ceasefire between the US and Iran is on massive life support. He told reporters in the Oval Office on Monday that while the ceasefire remained in place, it was unbelievably weak. Following Trump's comments, the Iranian parliamentary speaker wrote on X that Iran's armed forces were ready to respond and to teach a lesson for any aggression. Iran laid out its demands to end the war and reopen the Strait of Hormuz in a counteroffer sent to the US on Sunday. Donald Trump rejected the proposal, calling it totally unacceptable and a piece of garbage. The head of the World Health Organization has warned that there will be more hantavirus cases. However, he did dispel fears there could be a major outbreak. Meanwhile, in France, the health minister says it's not clear if the virus has mutated. It comes as the last passengers have now disembarked the virus-stricken cruise ship. There are currently 9 confirmed cases and 2 further suspected cases of the virus. Italian authorities have said they are now monitoring the condition of a 25-year-old man who is showing symptoms of hantavirus after he shared a plane seat with one of the 3 people who have died in the outbreak. Jurors have retired to consider the verdicts in the trial of 2 brothers accused of assaulting an armed police officer at Manchester Airport. 21-year-old Mohammed Fahir Ahmaz and 26-year-old Mohammed Ahmad are accused of assaulting PC Zachary Marsden, which they deny. Jurors have now retired to deliberate their verdicts this afternoon as the trial at Liverpool Crown Court enters its 5th week. Zach Polanski has apologised for failing to pay the correct council tax while living on a London houseboat. The Green Party leader had faced mounting questions over whether it was his primary residence. Government guidance says a person may be liable for council tax on a boat if it is their sole or main residence. A party spokesperson said Mr Polanski had been living on the boat moored in East London until relatively recently, and he then said it was his own unique practical circumstances and consideration, and goes on to say he was immediately taking steps to pay any council tax he may found to be owed. UK government borrowing costs have hit a decades-long high amid uncertainty over the Prime Minister's future. The UK's benchmark borrowing cost rose to 5.12% this morning. Last time investors demanded such a return to lend to the state for 10 years was back in July of 2008. The pound also weakened further amid the UK political instability, while stocks on the London market dropped sharply on rising oil prices. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's time for the finance.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3527 US. The pound will buy you €1.1529 euros. And the price of gold is £3,452 per ounce. And the FTSE 100's at 10,254 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
And then there were four ministers now have quit the government. The Health Minister, Zubair Ahmed, is the latest. He's resigned from the government, citing a lack of values-driven leadership, making him now, as I said, the fourth minister to leave Sir Keir Starmer's government today. However, in more positive news for the under-fire Prime Minister, more than 100 Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. But it is currently, however, something of a mystery as to who actually signed this letter. But I can put you out of your misery. We have one of them waiting to speak to us in a moment's time. I'll be delighted to introduce Luke Akehurst MP, or if he was a boxer, elusive Luke Akehurst MP. He'll join me shortly to find out why he signed the list supporting the Prime Minister. But for now, let's get to Downing Street live and speak to GB News' Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood. Tom, the psychodrama that we were told would be over once the Labour Party got into power is simply getting more and more psychotic and more dramatic by the minute. What's the latest?
It certainly is, Martin, and I have to say I'm fully expecting that we will see another ministerial resignation in the next 60 minutes or so. The pace has been that, and we've seen, of course, 4 ministerial resignations today. That's on top of the 6 parliamentary private secretary resignations we saw yesterday, late afternoon and evening, and we are getting over 90 now Labour MPs saying it's time for the Prime Minister to go. It's really not that different in terms of looking at different groups of Labour MPs. Around 100 privately saying that the Prime Minister should stay, over 90 publicly saying that he should go. What's really interesting is that leaves just over 200 Labour MPs who have not committed either to this letter that the Prime Minister's allies are putting around that's been cooked up in the building behind me, or indeed to the response to the call of Catherine West, what feels like 100 years ago, but was actually only yesterday afternoon when Catherine West wrote to MPs saying that she is not herself going to stand in the upcoming contest, if indeed there is a contest, but she was encouraging Labour MPs to write to the Prime Minister, or indeed simply to publicly put out a statement saying indeed that they wished the Prime Minister were no longer in that position, that it's time for him to move on. Well, since she made that call, more than 90 of her colleagues have followed it. But crucially, what we've started to see now in the latter part of today is a slight change from what we've seen perhaps over the broad stroke of yesterday, which was yesterday a almost non-factional approach to those coming forward and saying the Prime Minister, it's time to go. You saw people who are thought to be supporters of Andy Burnham, people who are thought to be supporters of Wes Streeting, and those who are thought to not really support either of them. They have all declared. Today, latterly, it is seen to be that it is people close to Wes Streeting who are now making the moves, who are now resigning. All eyes on the Health Secretary.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom Howard. And once again, Larry the cat behind you there. Will he outlive his 7th Prime Minister? We'll be back to you later in the show, Tom Howard. Now, I'm delighted now to speak with the Labour Party MP for North Durham, Luke Akehurst. Luke, welcome to the show. I'm so chuffed we've got hold of one of the 100 MPs who I believe have signed this supportive letter to Sir Keir Starmer. Luke, you're one of them. Tell us why you're backing your PM today.
He has a mandate to serve for 4 years, and I just think it is completely destabilising for people to be sending in letters asking for him to stand down. They're not even going through the appropriate process to cause a leadership election. If you want to change the leader of the Labour Party, you need to announce that you're a candidate and get 81 people to nominate you, and then we can have a leadership election. But actually, I'm sceptical that there's anyone out there with 81. I think that's why we're getting this kind of drip, 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 which is damaging. And it needs to end. We've got the King's speech tomorrow. Really, we're going to have people carrying on with these antics while the King is literally reading out the legislative programme for the Labour Party for the rest of the Parliament. I'm not impressed. I get that people are hurting after the local elections, but I think this needs to stop, and we need to get on with the business of governing.
Luke, could I ask you a question I've been asking for the past hour and a half since it broke that there are 100 supportive Labour MPs? Why the mystery? I mean, there's no list of the 100 being published. I mean, is it not beyond the wit of 100 Labour MPs to put a letter out with your names on it so we actually know who they are? I mean, if you were a boxer, I'd be calling you elusive Luke Akehurst.
Politically, I used to be known as Luke the Nuke, but that got stolen by a darts player. The names are going to be published. The number is going up all the time. It's actually, Tom said it was cooked up in Downing Street. It's not. It's been organised by Sean Woodcock and Perrin Moon, who are backbench Labour MPs who you may not be aware of, but they're good guys.
We had them on the show. Yeah,
I'm impressed by what they've been doing today to contact colleagues, and that list is going to be put up, and it's ticking up as we speak.
So Sean Woodcock, Perrin Moon, yourself, that's 3.
And at least another 100 others, but the number might have gone up since it was initially reported.
At least another 100. OK.
Yeah. And
so
those are almost entirely backbenchers and PPSs. They've not asked ministers to sign it.
OK. Can you give us an indication of who else is on this mysterious list?
No, you'll get the list. It's going to be published, but loads of us have been putting out statements, or in my case, an entire article, because I can write quite fast. So loads of us have been putting out stuff or doing media. There's plenty of evidence of who quite a large component of that 103 plus names are going to be, but the list is going to be put online, and you can all have the opportunity to scrutinise it. There are good colleagues that have taken all kinds of different positions on this, but I'm proud to be part of that large group that are saying, actually, the Prime Minister needs to be given the space to do his job and get on with changing the country.
OK, Luke, I wonder, when you look at the other 88 and rising now who are demanding that Keir Starmer steps down, when you look at where they sit and who they would be losing their seats to, 56% of them would lose their seats to Reform UK. There's a red wall. It's across the north. Places perhaps like Durham, where you are. The Green Party, 31% would lose their seats to the Green Party, 8% to the SNP. You know, on this list, there's maybe seriously 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 Labour MPs that would even hold their seat now. Isn't that the point? Yesterday, Keir Starmer delivered a speech saying Brexit is basically dead. It's cozying back up to Brussels. Your constituents didn't vote for that. We've got a Prime Minister who's in love with Brussels and damn Brexit land.
Yeah, well, I think people who have signed it thinking it's going to say, getting rid of Keir will save their seat, need to be careful what they wish for. Because what if the outcome of a leadership contest is someone that says, well, actually, we're going to ignore the moderate platform that was in our manifesto that people actually voted for, and we're going to veer off to the left. If say it was Andy Burnham or Angela Rayner, they're signalling they want a more left-wing Labour Party. I can't quite understand the maths or the logic of how that is a sensible response to reform, taking all your council seats. I don't get people in North Durham saying to me they want an incredibly more left-wing Labour Party. I get people saying that they want the Labour government to push ahead with the immigration reforms that Shabana Mahmood has been proposing, and they want us to tackle the cost of living stuff that people's lives are miserable because people don't have enough money in their pockets. They want us to do the basics around that, not kind of retreat into our comfort zone.
Luke, if I can interject, I'm just hearing reports right this moment that it's been reported that Angela Rayner is telling Labour MPs that she is ready to launch a leadership campaign against Sir Keir Starmer. What's your take on that?
At least that has an honesty to it that people just issuing vague calls for him to go doesn't. So it'd be interesting to see if that actually happens, if she actually gets the 81 nominations. And then I will support Keir if there's a contested election. All the signals are from Keir that if someone actually triggers a leadership election, he will fight it against, it could be more than one opponent, and I think he would stand a very good chance of winning. I think the communications I'm seeing online and that I'm getting by email from ordinary members of the Labour Party, they are not impressed by this attempt to bundle him off the stage, and they also don't want to create a scenario where a change of leader means that we come under it. People are like, well, that isn't who we elected in 2024, and we come under immense pressure to have a snap general election. I don't think that's going to help the Labour Party at all.
OK, thank you very much for joining us, and look forward to the rest of that list being published later on today. Labour Party MP for North Durham, Luke Akehurst. Thank you very much indeed. We're delighted now to be joined in the studio by the Conservative councillor, Elliot Keck, and GB News chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. The newly minted councillor, Elliot Keck. I should come to you first. You won in Westminster, I believe. Congratulations on that. So can I first get your take on what is clearly now a psychodrama on Downing Street?
Yeah, and the echoes from the psychodrama that the Conservative Party, my party, experienced a couple of years ago are really, really profound, aren't they? Except one big difference is that in 2022, it was all of the people that wanted the Prime Minister to go that were doing it privately and in secret, whereas now it's all the ones that want the Prime Minister to stay are the ones doing it privately and in secret and not having their names published. I mean, Luke there said that the list will be published. I mean, let's wait and see. I think it was possible that one of the reasons why they're not publishing the list is because they want to see how things go over the next few hours. If the Prime Minister does come out and announce his resignation, if he does read the runes, they probably don't want to have their names on paper as being people that called for him to stay. So, yeah, listen, it's very interesting.
Latest minister to resign there, of course, is Zubair Ahmed. It says there on screen, it's clear from recent days that the public across the UK has now irretrievably lost confidence in you as the Prime Minister. Nigel Nelson, let's bring you in here. You have an inside line on this. Mr Ahmed is a key supporter of a certain Wes Streeting.
Well, more than that, they're actually, according to a friend, very close mates. That when he became MP for Glasgow South West in the 2024 election, he's a new MP. He was immediately given a government post by Wes Streeting as his parliamentary private secretary. Since then, Wes Streeting has promoted him to be a minister, and what I'm being told is there is absolutely no way he would move like this without Wes Streeting's approval. And he certainly would have told Wes Streeting, even if he didn't have that, and was actually making up his own mind.
Catherine Forster, Tom Harwood said there he's more or less certain there's going to be another resignation within the next hour, and we've been trying to search around, haven't we, for the mysterious signatories of this list of 100 supportive Labour MPs. I can't think why they're so shy about coming forward with their support. Luke Akehurst there did mention two others, Sean Woodcock and Perrin Moon. I believe another one of these Scarlet Pimpernel has come to light.
It's very, very weird, isn't it? But yes, John Whitby, he is the Labour MP for Derbyshire Dales. He only came in 2024. It was a seat created back in 2010. A lovely part of the world, the Peak District, Matlock, Buxton, was Conservative. And he has, well, I don't know, have we got the clip? Could we throw to the clip? No,
I think we're still working on that. So
what he says in the clip is basically, we're not even 2 years in. It is not time to panic. The problem is that following those catastrophic election results in England, in Wales, in Scotland, many Labour MPs are absolutely panicking, and they are just going, the PM has got to go, despite the fact that there is no clear plan for who replaces. Also, there is speculation that Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary that we know told the Prime Minister yesterday he should set out a timetable for his departure, is on resignation watch, though her spokesman has said no, absolutely not. She's getting on with the job.
Councillor Elliot Keck, Conservatives. Is it best sometime in politics just not to interrupt your opponents when they're making so many mistakes?
Yeah, I think that's generally a pretty good insight. I mean, listen, speaking for the election last week, I was elected in an area, essentially Paddington, the ward's called Hyde Park, but it's basically Paddington, and every single politician that represented the area and every single layer of government was a Labour one. So you had Labour from councillors to London to government, and people were just fed up. They were fed up with the Labour council, they were fed up with the Labour mayor, and they were fed up with the Labour Prime Minister. And we felt that just conveying that message of change on the doorstep, conveying that message that you'll have a Conservative council and Conservative councillors to stand up to these guys is going to make a big difference. I think that's probably what you saw at other places in the local elections last week. Let's take somewhere like Barking and Dagenham, right? Somewhere that had not elected an opposition councillor, I think for 20 years, I think it was 2006 the last time. An incredibly unhealthy thing to do in a local democracy. And actually quite a number of residents went out and voted Reform. And I think Reform got 7, 8, 9 councillors last week. So, yeah, I think it is really interesting.
Without getting me into trouble, what kind of things were the electorate saying about Keir Starmer specifically?
I think they felt deeply let down. I think they felt like they really did believe that he was going to be a different kind of politician, that he was going to be decent, honourable, truthful, that he was going to do what he said he was going to do. And they just felt deeply let down. They felt tricked. They felt that actually they'd been conned by another slippery politician. Actually, interestingly, what we've found on the doorstep in the last few months, people are seeing Kemi Badenoch very differently. Kemi actually has come up very positively. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but where I am, Kemi has come up very positively on the doorstep in the last few months.
Eric Eck, superb newly minted councillor for Westminster. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Nigel. More of you throughout the rest of the show. Still to come, all the very latest in the Prime Minister's battle to save his premiership as a fourth minister now resigns from government. But 100 of his MPs back him, even though there's still a mystery as to who they are. And there could be another ministerial resignation before the end of this show. This is GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very, very easy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. Breaking news. It's 5:27. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. The Health Minister, Zubair Ahmed, has resigned from the government as the fourth minister to quit today, citing a lack of values-driven leadership, making him the fourth minister, as I said, to leave Sir Keir Starmer's government today. 10 resignations now within 24 hours. However, in more positive news for the under-fire Prime Minister, more than 100 Labour MPs have signed a letter, a statement, saying this is no time for a leadership contest. But it's currently remaining something of a mystery as to who actually signed this letter. And breaking news for you now, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will not resign from the Cabinet, we've just learned, and is cracking on with her job. A spokesman has just announced, just to repeat that, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will not resign from the Cabinet and is cracking on with her job. And I believe Catherine Forster, there is a line quickly, if we could, before I get to my guest, Lib Dem MP for North Norfolk, Steph Aquarone. There's a line from Buckingham Palace, of course, about the King's speech tomorrow.
Yes, Politico are reporting that Buckingham Palace privately asked whether the King should proceed as planned with the King's speech scheduled for late tomorrow morning. We've seen the practising going on. The roads around Westminster are all closed. Says people familiar say the King's team made clear the importance of protecting the monarch from any impression that he is being used for political ends. Clearly, the timing of this is incredibly difficult and risks the King looking, well, very embarrassing to outline a legislative programme if indeed the Prime Minister looks like he's about to be toppled.
OK, let's bring in my studio guest now, the Liberal Democrats MP for North Norfolk, Steph Aquarone. Steph, can I get your reaction first? Two pieces of breaking news there about Shabana Mahmood, but first let's turn to this private statement from Buckingham Palace, an astonishingly tawdry episode that the King's been dragged into this mess.
Well, I was going to agree with you calling it a psychodrama and say it's a psychodrama on repeat, but this is certainly a new development in this particular series, which I thought we'd seen the door to when the Conservatives lost power, but this is quite unprecedented. I was wondering on my way down today, because I'm here ready for the King's speech tomorrow, what would happen if the King ended up announcing the sorts of things his government might be doing over the coming years without actually knowing who would be doing them. That does feel ever so slightly less likely in the last half hour, but if that's what Buckingham Palace has indicated as being concerning them, there's a real question mark over what happens now next tomorrow, as well as what happens today with Keir Starmer's leadership.
Let's get to that question now, because, of course, Angela Rayner has announced apparently she is up for the idea of preparing for a leadership challenge. We hear she's also saying she's supportive of the idea of supporting other candidates. We've just heard there Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, is saying that she will not resign, so she will stand firm by the Prime Minister for now. Wes Streeting, I mean, where's Wes? Where is Wes?
You have to ask, don't you, who is the candidate that is going to actually challenge the Prime Minister? Because you've got Angela Rayner, fine, very much a left-wing alternative. Wes Streeting, who's got a very small majority. That would make an interesting campaign at the next general election. Andy Burnham's a concept. He's not a candidate in this race. So we're left at the moment not knowing really who's behind these attempted purges. Maybe there won't be enough people to do it. But I guess the problem is that I know from knocking on doors for the last few months in North Norfolk, these are not questions that are going to be of much use to the people in my constituency who are struggling with the cost of living, desperate to hear some sort of vision and plan for the country, and this is just taking us further away from having a plan.
Isn't the point here is that in opposition, Sir Keir Starmer we were almost blinded by his halo. He was so sanctimonious, he was so holier than thou, demanding people resign for every minor indiscretion. Yet now he just doesn't seem to want to take accountability for anything that happens.
I have some sympathy for that. I also think, though, that, to be fair to him, I think he's an honourable man. I think he's made some fairly significant mistakes, the largest of which is not having a vision and a plan for this country. But I don't think he brought this about. This is backbench squabbling within the Labour Party, trying to work out what it stands for. Is it a party of the left? Is it a party of the centre? Is it the party that, did win a large majority at the last general election? Because surely the alternative leadership candidates that are being put forward are going to detract quite significantly from what the country voted for back then. OK, Steph Aquarone, thank you very much for popping in to see us here in Westminster. I do hope that King's speech goes ahead tomorrow. You get to enjoy it. Thank you very much indeed, Steph. Catherine, Nigel, superb as ever.
Plenty more to come, but for now, if you're travelling home from work or from school, as I always say, please stay safe. Here is your traffic and your travel update, and please stick with us.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. A broken down vehicle causes restrictions on the A1 eastbound at Wallyford. Expect congestion on the M4 eastbound at junction 32 Corriton off-slip. In Surrey, the M25 clockwise at junction 14 is partially blocked due to a collision, with 2 lanes closed until about 6 this evening. Delays are on the M5 southbound at junction 1 in Sandwell, closing 1 lane. Brighton and Hove has slow traffic on the A27 eastbound between junctions with the A23 and A277. And on the trains, Greater Anglia is disrupted between Colchester and Colchester Town Hythe. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon. Your headlines at 5:33. 4 ministers have now resigned from Sir Keir Starmer's government as the Prime Minister fights for his political future, telling his cabinet earlier he would continue governing. Meanwhile, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will not resign from the cabinet and is cracking on with the job, that's according to her spokesman. Some breaking news. A man has been shot dead by police after presenting a weapon during an armed standoff in Bedford. The force has made a mandatory referral to the police watchdog, which has launched an investigation. US President Donald Trump has said the month-long ceasefire between the US and Iran is on massive life support. He told reporters in the Oval Office on Monday that while the ceasefire remained in place, it was unbelievably weak. France's health minister has warned that it still isn't known whether the circulating strain of hantavirus has mutated or not. It comes as the last passenger has now left the virus-hit cruise ship, as authorities confirmed 3 new positive cases linked to the deadly outbreak. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's quite a showery theme as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, with some blustery winds and a bit of thunder around as well. Currently there is a cold front making its way southwards. That's brought a bit of rain, a bit of cloud, but it's also bringing cooler, showery air down from the north. As a result, we do have quite a lot of sunny skies through the evening across the bulk of England and Wales, and then we'll have clear skies to start the night. But with that colder air and the clear skies, a chilly start to the night before the showers and the blustery conditions in the north become more widespread, and as a result our temperatures are actually going to lift in quite a few places as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. As a result, it's not going to be especially chilly, especially when you compare it to some recent nights, but there will be a bit of a chill in the air first thing tomorrow morning and plenty of showers around. Yes, there will be some sunny spells in between those showers, but worth bearing in mind the showers could be a bit blustery and they could be heavy at times as well. It's a similar theme across, well, much of England and Wales, across Northern Ireland and also across parts of Scotland. But in Scotland, some of those showers could have a wintry element to them. So, I mean, there could be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground in particular. And generally, there could be a bit of hail around as we go through tomorrow, even to some lower levels. Perhaps the greatest chance of some thunder is across the eastern parts, but further west, we're likely to have the strongest winds. So quite blustery, quite breezy down the western side of the UK, also around parts of the southwest as well. And with a fair amount of cloud and those blustery winds and that fresher air coming through, temperatures are going to be a bit below average for the time of year and really feeling it. So quite a cool feel, especially for mid-May. Plenty more showers to come for many of us as we go through the end of the day, but across northern parts of Scotland, starting to turn a little bit dry. Not totally dry, still a few showers. More showers to come as we go into Friday, particularly in the north, but a drier theme into the weekend and turning ever so slightly warmer as well. Bye-bye.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Your time is 5:38. Now, the Health Minister, Zubair Ahmed, has resigned from the government, citing a lack of values-driven leadership, making him now the fourth minister to leave Sir Keir Starmer's government. However, in more positive news for the under-fire Prime Minister, more than 100 Labour MPs have signed a statement saying this is no time for a leadership contest. But in a further plot twist, it's currently remaining a mystery as to who has actually signed the letter. I had one of the parliamentarians on a short while ago on the channel. This is Luke Akehurst, the North Durham Labour MP. And I said, well, who else is on the list? He said, well, you'll find out shortly. We found out Sean Woodcock is on it, Perrin Moon, these are all Starmer loyalists, but the remaining 97, we haven't got a dicky, but we haven't got a clue. We haven't got a Scooby-Doo who's on it. Just another farcical day in British politics. 2 quick points. First, Buckingham Palace, and then Shabana Mahmood. So Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, she has come out these past 20 minutes and she said that she will not be stepping down. So far, no cabinet ministers have stepped down. Yep. It's the strata below. Some people saying that she was being seen as an outside runner, as a sort of right-wing candidate, now confirming that will not be the case.
Yeah, that's really significant. The only way Keir Starmer is actually going to go in the very near future is if cabinet ministers resign. It's looking like they're not. A number of cabinet ministers have actually come out publicly with their support. Business Secretary Peter Carl, close friend of Wes Streeting, Liz Kendall, the Technology Secretary, Steve Reed, the Housing Secretary, and Pat McFadden. So people are coming out in his favour. No cabinet resignations. We're still waiting to hear from Wes Streeting, Ed Miliband, and some of the others.
I think the question of the day is, where's Wes? You know, supporters of his, including Zubair Ahmed, Jess Phillips, who quit earlier on, they're both Streeting long-term associates. Angela Rayner, this past 20 minutes, said that she is up for a leadership challenge, but she'd also be supportive of others. I think we know that means Andy Burnham. They're all on manoeuvres. They're all at it.
Of course they are. And as one Wes Streeting ally said to me early this morning, at least Wes Streeting is being honest about it. There's plenty of people would like the Prime Minister's job, but he was clear that Wes Streeting hadn't asked anyone to go over the top for him, although I must say it does look increasingly coordinated with these ministers that are allies of Wes Streeting. And, you know, if Wes Streeting goes, this may be his best moment. But if he goes, there's no way that the left of the Labour Party are just going to let him waltz in. Somebody else will stand. Now, that could be Angela Rayner. It could be Ed Miliband. Now, both of those people would really prefer it to be Andy Burnham. But the problem is he doesn't have a seat. And for all that we keep hearing that he's got a seat nailed down, I mean, I hear all these names and then you look on X and you find that a name that you've just been told, that person has said absolutely, categorically, they're not going.
And bear in mind that Wes Streeting is only 43. He's got plenty of time to go for the top job.
OK, bear with me, guests, because I want to get to my next online guest now. It's the member of the House of Lords and a former Labour Party MP, and that is Lord Walney. Lord Walney, it's always a pleasure to have your company. Thank you for joining us. It's a nightmare on Downing Street. The bodies are falling thick and fast. 10 resignations in 24 hours, 4 ministers going today alone. Can Sir Keir Starmer survive this latest, psychodrama?
Yeah, I think probably not. But the Labour Party is a strange beast, and its rules and its culture do tend to snap behind the leader if that leader is prepared to dig in. I hope that Keir will reflect on this, and I hope that he will ultimately be able to swallow the really hard truth, which is there is just no way back in the eyes of the public from this. They are not going to change their view on him.
Okay, Lord Bowley, I need to interrupt you because I think there's been a more dramatic development at Downing Street. Tom Harwood, what's the latest?
With a mandate from the British people for 5 years. He has my full support. And what I'd say to colleagues is, look, let's just step back, take a breath. Let's remember that we have the King's Speech. We are in government to do a job of work. It's been 24 hours now, and nobody has come forward to put themselves forward in the processes that exist in the party. No one seems to have the names to stand up against Keir Starmer. And for those who are suggesting that he should stand down, they should say which candidate would be better. Let's get on with the business of running this country and government. That's what I've been doing today. That's what the Prime Minister's been doing. And I urge colleagues to step back and not benefit Nigel Farage and reform.
Deputy Prime Minister. Well, that was David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister there, saying that the moves that almost 100 of his parliamentary colleagues have made, calling for the Prime Minister to resign, only benefits Nigel Farage. He said that in the processes that the Labour Party has to replace a Prime Minister, none of those have been triggered, that those who have come forward haven't been backing a specific candidate when they have come forward. And he also said that no one has offered themselves as a candidate in this process so far. He said that really everyone should take a step back. He urged his colleagues to stop what they're doing. He referenced the King's Speech, which is going to happen tomorrow. And this was a plea from the Deputy Prime Minister, we can only assume speaking on behalf of the Prime Minister, saying that this should stop, urging his colleagues to think again. Will they listen to him? Perhaps it's all too late.
Thank you very much indeed, Tom Holt there. Dramatic breaking news. David Lammy speaking there in defence of the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. Can we get my previous guest back, Lord Wolney? Sorry to cut across you there, but we had to go and get that breaking news. I wonder if I get your reaction to that. David Lammy basically saying, time to take a breath, keep calm and carry on. Don't hand the keys to number 10 to Nigel Farage. But it's not as simple as that.
No, well, on one level, it is deeply unsurprising that David Lammy will do whatever the leadership tells him to do. I suppose it's more notable that this is a signal that, for the time being, at least, Keir Starmer does want to battle on, and there is a possibility that he may well be able to stay. If he really, really wanted to do that, the Labour Party rules are such that he guarantees himself on the ballot in any leadership contest, and Labour Party members do tend towards loyalty to a beleaguered leader. But the bigger question here is, can he look at this situation and understand what is really difficult for any individual to accept, that there is no way back with the public for him personally. They despise him. They are full of a deep sense of contempt, and he may think that is unfair, but he does not have the political skill or the communication skills to dig himself out of this hole. So while he stays as leader of the Labour Party, there is no hope for the Labour Party being re-elected, and for all the very good reasons that people who like Keir Starmer and some who don't like Keir Starmer can put forward as to why a change is dangerous, it is turbulent. The ultimate truth remains that Labour are finished while he remains the Prime Minister.
OK, Lord Wolney, thank you very much for your forthright opinion. Thank you very much indeed. Now, for coming to stick with us all, the very latest in the Prime Minister's desperate battle to save his premiership as a fourth minister now falls, and another one might go before the end of the show. This is GB News.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
A few showers are possible in Madeira and the Canaries over the next couple of days. Some wet weather affecting southern parts of Italy. Plenty of sunshine for Greece and Turkey through the rest of this week. Some warmth here as well. There's that showery rain across southern Italy, still lingering into Thursday too. The odd shower drifting south towards the Balearics. Most of southern Spain dry and sunny. And as I mentioned, the chance of 1 or 2 showers in Madeira on Wednesday. And we'll see more showers, I think, arriving in Croatia for Friday and the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Just have to accept this is now Britain.
I think it's very sad, and I think the shoplifting thing has got completely out of control. I mean, one of the stories for Greggs, I mean, it's the 3G story. It's Gosling, Greggs and Greenford. I mean, a particular man that went in and 38 times, I believe, in about 6 weeks, went in and robbed the same Greggs store. And then, actually, he only went away for he got a 4-month suspended sentence. And I think then you were talking about, you know, Costa and Pret and that, putting in extra cameras, Sainsbury's extra cameras.
Body cams.
Body cams in Marks and Spencer's, yes. I mean, it's happening right across the board, and I think they have to be taking their precautions. But it's a very, very sad state of affairs we've got ourselves into. I mean, I think the police are reporting now something like 1,500 shoplifting offences a day, and actually the retailers' associations are suggesting they're underplaying it by 20 to 40 times. You've got to give people in the country hope, and people in the country need to see there is an economic strategy, there's an upwards, there's an opportunity where they're going, the horizon looks better than it is now, so they don't feel desperate. And I think that goes through all of us.
Why do you need to do that, not to steal? I think that we've got one of the most repellent governments we've had in an awfully long time, but that doesn't make me want to go. I mean, maybe I should pop across to the Marks and Spencer's across the road and, get myself a bottle of champers, because, I'm annoyed about the Starmer.
Well, they certainly wouldn't be able to do anything about it, Christo, because, as you said, under £200.
Right, hold the fort. I'm off. I'm off to get us a little bit of champers. That'll be lovely this afternoon in the sunshine.
Isn't it a real indictment of where we find ourselves in Britain today, Christo, that we've gone from this high-trust, low-crime society that, you can only feel nostalgic about now, watching old YouTube videos about London of yore, where, people would walk past, pick up a newspaper and just drop in the tuppence that they needed to pay for it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back, 9 minutes to 6 now. Moments ago, speaking from Downing Street, the Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, insisted that the under-fire Prime Minister had his full support. Well, that comes as a blessing to him. I'm joined in the studio by the former Deputy Leader of the Green Party, Shara Ali. Welcome to the studio. I wanted to talk to you about Andy Burnham. Yes. Andy Burnham will see himself as a saviour of the left, but Reform UK have come out this last hour saying wherever Burnham stands, if he does, they will throw the kitchen sink at him to try and stop it. I'm assuming that the Green Party will do precisely the same.
They will, and they've already shown they can do it. In the one constituency where Burnham had a fighting chance of winning it, that opportunity's already gone. And probably Hannah Spencer and the Greens, they could have won that regardless of appealing to the Islamic bloc vote. So they've got a real problem here, because there is no such thing as a safe seat in the UK now. The Greens have got real momentum behind them, not just after the by-election, but extraordinary results last week in the local elections and across London. All those conurbations where Labour is supposed to be doing well, they've been in meltdown. Whether it's Lewisham, Hackney, everywhere. Wales now and Scotland. There is no Labour heartland. There is no safe seat for Burnham to go to. What would happen now? I mean, we've heard speculation about Clive Lewis standing down in Norwich South.
Yeah.
Again, a fairly strong Green neighbourhood.
74% likely that it would fall to the Green Party.
Absolutely. So they would throw the kitchen sink at that. They've got a student population there, burgeoning student population there. They'd win that. Burnham and the Labour Party would be left without a seat. They'd lose a seat, a Labour seat, and they'd lose probably the Manchester mayoralty in addition. And they've already lost 2 mayoralties in London.
And so the Green Party could be kingmakers, king breakers. They could finish Burnham's career if he stood and the Green Party shoved him out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing for Labour to do at the moment is to hold out a bit. Now, we're not going to discuss Polanski's latest local difficulties, but he does potentially have some problems looming, which could present a major problem to his leadership credentials as well. But ultimately, we're talking about a very high-stakes... it's not just party politics, it's personality politics, and always has been. So what Zach has effectively done, positioning himself on the left and the far left as a energetic leader who wants to make things happen with urgency, they're going to have to find an alternative who can meet that match, and they haven't got anybody.
OK, Shara Ali, thank you very much, former Deputy Leader of the Green Party. We have to leave it there, short but sweet. Now, coming next is Dubes & Co. A nightmare on Downing Street could still await the Prime Minister. Keep calm and carry on, says David Lammy. The last thing that's happening today is anything remotely calm. It's been a total and utter farce. A nightmare on Downing Street. Dubes & Co. is up next. Dubes, what's on your menu?
Yes, indeed. Well, there can, of course, be only one thing on the menu, the Labour Party at war. So get yourself comfortable, ladies and gents. I've got someone from Labour, someone from the Tories. I've got the broadcaster Magic Nawaz, and I've got Liam Halligan as well, because there is a lot, ladies and gents, that we need to discuss. So get yourself comfortable, grab yourself a cuppa of tea, coffee, or perhaps something stronger. You might need it tonight, and I will see you in a sec.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's quite a showery theme as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, with some blustery winds and a bit of thunder around as well. Currently there is a cold front making its way southwards. That's brought a bit of rain, a bit of cloud, but it's also bringing cooler, showery air down from the north. As a result, we do have quite a lot of sunny skies through the evening across the bulk of England and Wales, and then we'll have clear skies to start the night. But with that colder air and the clear skies, a chilly start to the night before the showers and the blustery conditions in the north become more widespread, and as a result our temperatures are actually going to lift in quite a few places as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning. As a result, it's not going to be especially chilly, especially when you compare it to some recent nights, but there will be a bit of a chill in the air first thing tomorrow morning, and plenty of showers around. Yes, there will be some sunny spells in between those showers, but worth bearing in mind the showers could be a bit blustery and they could be heavy at times as well. It's a similar theme across, well, much of England and Wales, across Northern Ireland and also across parts of Scotland. But in Scotland, some of those showers could have a wintry element to them. So, I mean, there could be a bit of sleet and snow over the higher ground in particular. And generally, there could be a bit of hail around as we go through tomorrow, even to some lower levels. Perhaps the greatest chance of some thunder is across eastern parts, but further west, we're likely to have the strongest winds. So quite blustery, quite breezy down the western side of the UK, also around parts of the southwest as well. And with a fair amount of cloud and those blustery winds and that fresher air coming through, temperatures are going to be a bit below average for the time of year and really feeling it. So quite a cool feel, especially for mid-May. Plenty more showers to come for many of us as we go through the end of the day, but across northern parts of Scotland, starting to turn a little bit dry. Not totally dry, still a few showers. More showers to come as we go into Friday, particularly in the north, but a drier theme into the weekend and turning ever so slightly warmer as well. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.